get up for it. So let's start our evening. So again, welcome to PCREIA here in Polk County, Florida. And I'm going to tell you tonight, we've got a great evening. Sandra Edmond is known as the Queen of Tax Deeds. And we are awesomely excited about having her here tonight. Greg, you can go ahead and end the banner part of it because I've set it up where Sandra can share her screen in just a moment. I know she's going to want to do that. Listen, what you need to know about Sandra Edmond is a lot of things, but one of the things is she's been buying at the tax deed and lien auctions since 2004. This woman knows what she is doing. I mean, she wouldn't be called the Queen of Tax Deeds if she didn't, I'm telling you. Her first Florida tax deed, it cost her $12,000, and then she soon sold that property for $49,000 just a couple of months later. So she started out with a bang doing this, let me tell you. She's a full-time real estate investor right here in our own backyard over in the Orlando area. Her successful experiences in the area of tax delinquent properties has landed her on the front page article in the Orlando Business Journal and the Seminole Women's Magazine. She's made guest appearances on live radio shows on the topic. She's been the past president of the Central Florida Realty Investors Association. And that just shows you right there that the investing community has recognized her not only as a great investor, but also a strong leader, okay? An interesting side note about Sandra that I want you to know, she rarely talks about it, but before real estate investing, she was a television news reporter and a fill-in anchor. So this is a very professional, strong woman that knows how to research and be a detective about stuff. So she's somebody really you want to get to know. One of the great things I appreciate about Sandra is that she became super successful in this arena of tax deed investing. And instead of just keeping it to herself, she started out sharing it with fellow investors, right? That's just like what we believe in here at PCREIA. Eventually, she created a full-out program to help others, to teach them, mentor them. And I, for one, like I said earlier, I've bought her class, her program. I absolutely can vouch for it. I have bought properties using some of her techniques. That's why I wanted her here tonight to share with you. In fact, she's got some teaching things I told her, please tell our group about, because if you get the opportunity to go to any kind of a class or sign up for something with Sandra, if this is what you think you want to try out, this is the person you want to learn from. So with no further ado, I want to welcome, and I hope y'all will help me welcome Sandra Edmond to our little world tonight. Queen of Tax Deed Sales. Thank you, Sandra. Hey.
Hey there. Good afternoon or good evening. Can everybody hear me? Or can you hear me, Liz?
Yeah, you sound real good, real good.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to be speaking to a REIA that's like right down the street from me. I decided to rush home here so I could have plenty of time to spend with you guys. And I know there are people already here at the REIA that have taken my class and done tax deed investing, one of which is Susan, who is luckily agreed to be one of my volunteers for tonight. I'm just volunteering her image, and a couple other members of REIA as well. So I'm getting ready to share my screen in a moment to pull up the presentation. So what I'm going to do is kind of go through it, kind of keep it a little interactive. And also during different segments, I'm going to take a break and start taking questions from you on what I've covered. So we have a lot to go through tonight. Please be patient. Let me go through it. Get your pens and your papers ready, and let's get ready to take some notes. All right.
So Sandra, let me ask you before you get started. So you'd prefer if they maybe hold their questions or put them over in the chat side until you get done, and then we'll do a question and answer. Is that the best way to do this?
Yeah, throughout the presentation, I'm going to do a pause, and you'll see a slide that comes up and says questions, because usually what ends up happening is, because I've done this, I've done presentations a few times, that I realize that sometimes people have questions at specific points, and I know what those questions are going to be. So I try to dole out the information a little bit at a time for people who are just started, as well as advanced investors to understand as well.
Perfect. That's perfect. And I forgot to mention to folks, Sandra, but having been a beginner myself, a few years ago, I remember coming to meetings like this and being so nervous about asking questions because I didn't want anybody to know, really, I didn't know the answer to them. I thought they all knew the answer. So what I do now to offer out to everyone in our group is, If you are shy and you don't know that if you want to ask a particular question out loud to everybody or put it in the chat, you can send that message directly to me privately or to Susan or to Greg, and we will absolutely do that over in the chat. And then we will make sure that question gets asked later to Sandra. So you don't even have to ask yourself. I'll be glad to ask for you anytime you all want me to, okay? So everybody just remember that. All right, real good. Let's get going.
And I hope you won't be shy. Please go ahead if you have a question and ask it, put it in the chat and ask it when we get to the points for the questions, because I try to be as open as possible. And I believe in sharing because you don't receive anything unless you have your hands open to give. So I'm not one of those that is reluctant to share information. I do give it of my all when I'm making presentations or teachings. However, at an auction, or I'm aimed for an auction, then I will not be giving out, much information because who knows? That might be my competitor in the sale. So anyway, my screen is up right now. We're going to go through some of the secrets of investing in tax deeds and liens and overages. Can everybody, Liz, can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Sorry, it wouldn't let me unmute. Yes, we can see it. It looks good. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. I'm Sandra Edmond, and you can also find me on a lot of my social media channels. I have a wonderful Facebook page, Instagram, and also YouTube. And on YouTube, you just look for Queen of Tax Deeds. I've got a ton of videos that I post on YouTube. All right, a little bit of housekeeping, which is that we will be making this presentation. It's going to be recorded. And so Liz will give you the information on how you can see it later. Hold your questions until we have the question slide. And since this is a real estate investor association, I cannot tell you how much it really benefited my investing career to be involved with my local real estate investor association. If you are new this evening and you are just maybe coming in just to see what it's like, or possibly you've been to a few meetings before, you should join the investors meeting because it makes you part of a community and it keeps you in touch with like-minded people, and it vastly makes your chances of being successful in real estate so much higher, so much bigger. So I'm a huge proponent of local real estate investor associations because you will save a lot of money when it comes to education and learning things, because a lot of times the people in the REIAs with you can help you get over some of the hurdles that you may come across when you're investing in properties, as well as there's plenty of education opportunities that come to the REIAs as well. All right, here's my little disclaimer. I heard you guys had a disclaimer at the very beginning, but here is mine. I am not an attorney, and the information being presented to you is for educational purposes only. It's based on my business model and through our discussion, our title companies and other professionals that we have worked with. You are encouraged to seek counsel from a knowledgeable professional, such as legal, financial, or tax experts to discuss the implications prior to implementing the techniques and processes. Always do your due diligence. Do not rely solely on what you are learning in the information we have provided here in the presentation. And anytime you're at a real estate investor association function or out in the public, it's up to you to do your own due diligence on the people that you are coming across. Don't just quickly do business with them or start investing together just because you met them at your local real estate investor association. Always do your due diligence on everybody that you're meeting. Liz did a really good job of going through that at the very beginning of the meeting. Things that we would always go through as well. A little bit about me. I'm Sandra Edmond, known as the Queen of Tax Deeds. I was born in Jersey City, graduated from the University of Central Florida with a degree in radio television. And then I end up in real estate. How does that happen? So I worked as a news reporter and fill-in anchor in Fort Myers, Tallahassee, and West Palm Beach. So after my contract expired in West Palm Beach, I began looking for another job. So I was getting a lot of opportunities out of state, but I wanted to stay in the state of Florida. So I said, in the meantime, let me try real estate. They say you can make a lot of money, but I didn't believe it. So I was like, okay, this cannot be true that you can make this much money off of a piece of paper, basically, like flipping, wholesaling a contract, doing an assignment of contract. So I thought I was just going to be able to prove that this is not true. You cannot make that much money. Well, I ended up proving myself wrong because I made lots of money when I first got started. So much so that I decided I don't even want to go back to TV news. I'm going to make sure everybody else is aware about this too and how lucrative it can be too. So that was back in 2004 when I started investing. And I'll go through and tell you about how I first started finding the deals and the opportunities that are out there as well. So I specialize in tax deeds and tax liens. That doesn't mean I don't do any other type of real estate. I do all types of other real estate. I do probate, I do code enforcement, I do driving for dollars, I do seller finance deals, I do lease purchase, I do all types of deals. I'm also the past president of the Central Florida Realty Investor Association, CFRI. And I did hear another CFRI member, Frank, on there right before I came on. Frank, hi, back to you too as well. CFRI is a great organization. It's one of the largest RIAs in the country. And I also got my real estate license back in 2013. So pay attention. You see, in 2004, I started investing, and in 2013, I got my real estate license. You do not need to be a real estate agent to do real estate investing. Not necessary whatsoever. All right, words of wisdom. This is a quote that I love by Abraham Lincoln. Things may come to those who wait, but only things left by those who hustle. Let me turn on my little timer here so I don't go over too much on our time here together.
No, we like over. We like all the over we can get from you.
Okay, all right. No problem. We'll probably end up going a little over because I did not time the entire thing. So anyway.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Okay, good. Things may come to those who wait, but only those things left by those who hustle. So you got to get out there, look for the deals. And I love how Liz started the meeting with expectations and what she was putting out there, because your words are so important. Successful people in this business who realize how important your words are. Our goals for tonight. So one of the things we're going to do is go over the tax deed process, how it works, and who are the main characters involved. And also, we're going to go through the 7 ways to make money in delinquent taxes. So I'll go through each one of those. The 7th way, I'm actually going to hold off on that, and we'll be discussing that at the meeting after the meeting. So Liz told me you guys do the meeting after the meeting. So right after the meeting, I'll hang out and then I'll discuss the 7th way to make money.
Oh man, what a teaser.
Yeah. Then we'll also discuss the Polk County tax deed auction, which will be coming up in about a week or so. And they've got over 165 properties that they're going to be auctioning off in your sale, right there in your neighborhood, your neck of the woods. And then also we'll go over some of the mistakes that investors make and to encourage you not to make those mistakes. And I love quotes. Words are important to me. And this quote has a special place in my heart. And at the end of the presentation, I'll go ahead and explain why. Progress always involves risk. You can't steal second base, and keep your foot on first. I don't know anything about baseball, not that much, but you guys can agree, right? In order to get to second base, you got to leave first base. Yep. All right. So now let's kind of go through the tax deed process. So what happens when a property is scheduled for the tax deed sale? Well, first of all, it means that the homeowner has not paid their property taxes. They're responsible for paying property taxes every year. So if the homeowner doesn't pay the property taxes after a certain amount of time, the property will end up at the auction. And that's where we get involved. As tax deed investors, we buy the properties up at the auction. Now, some people are aware that when you buy the properties at the auction, it does not have marketable title. we actually have to do our own marketable title. We actually have to make it marketable title after we purchase it. Now, I call it rehab on the title. That's all. You don't need to be afraid of it. We do rehab on houses. It's the same thing. We're just doing a little rehab on title. Just like the houses, we want to make sure we know ahead of time what is needed in work and how much it's going to cost. And as long as the numbers match and we can still make a profit once we've done the little rehab on the title, then we go ahead and we purchase the property. So I'm going to go through some deals with you as well that I've done, some deals that my students have done, and also outline what some of the process is. Now, over here is our little cast of characters. So we've got 5 characters here on the screen for you. And I've got some volunteers here from PCREIA that have volunteered to become one of these characters so we can explain the process for you. So one of our characters here so far, look at Liz. Liz sent me a funny picture. So we made her the homeowner. Don't you love her?
Oh, good grief. I can't believe you did find a way to humiliate me finally, Sandra. Thank you so much.
You sent it to me. I had to use it. Okay, so Liz is the homeowner here. And the reason why she's looking like that is because she couldn't pay her taxes. So Liz is our volunteer homeowner in this instance. So Liz, her property tax bill has come. And she cannot pay it because her transmission went out on her house. And so she spent all her money hunting and getting those, what do they call those ears, Liz?
Those are definitely bullhorns.
Bullhorns, okay, bullhorns, yeah. See how much I know. So Liz was out bull hunting and never paid her property taxes. So she spent all her money out hunting and did not pay her property taxes for 1 year. So the county requires homeowners to pay their property taxes because that's how the county is able to pay for all the services that they offer to their constituents and people that live in the communities. So it's now been 2 years now. That's 2 tax bills in a row that homeowner Liz has not paid her property taxes. So the county is now going to solicit, and in our example here, our tax lien certificate investor is also a volunteer from UREA, and is this Adrian, Liz?
Yep, this is Adrian. We thought we'd pick on him since he's not here tonight. This is perfect. Perfect.
Okay, yeah. So Adrian is celebrating here with his drinks because he's getting up to 18% interest because the county came out, and we're going to call our county here Broke County. Did I get to Broke County yet? Yes, here we go. And I'm going to play the county. The name of the county that the property is in is called Broke County. So in Florida, we have 67 counties, and across the country, there's even many more counties in each one of the states. But right now we're focusing on a county locally here, and the name of the county is called Broke County, so that you remember the counties don't get any money if homeowners don't pay their property taxes. So that's why the county's got its pockets out here, because they're broke. Unless the homeowners pay their taxes, they're broke. So Broke County goes and asks investors, would you like to make up to 18% interest on your money by just loaning us 1 year's worth of taxes that a homeowner has not paid their property taxes? So Adrian here is celebrating. He's got his drinks because he's happy. He bought one of the tax lien certificates, so therefore he's going to be making 18% interest, up to 18. It goes anywhere from 5% to 18%. So Adrian is happy. He bought one of Liz's years that she did not pay the taxes on. So he contacted the tax collector. He does not go directly to Liz and pay Liz. He does not just go in and pay the taxes. He actually purchases a certificate at the annual auction that the tax collector's office has. So now he's getting up to 18%. So after 2 years, Adrian's going to go back to Broke County, and we're going to inform him, look, we told you we were broke. And Adrian's going to say, but you told me after 2 years of me holding my certificate, I would get my money back plus my 18%. And Brooke County says, yes, what we can do is we're going to auction off the property. So Adrian's like, yes, finally I'm going to get my property. But then Brooke County's like, listen, we're broke, so we don't even have money to put on the auction. We require you to pay what's necessary so that we can sell the property at the auction. So Adrian's like, okay. So that's usually about maybe $200. So Adrian chips in the money for the county to hold the auction. So Brooke County holds the auction to sell poor Liz's property because Liz has not paid her property taxes. So Brooke County is going to send notices out and let Liz know the property is going to be sold at the auction. Girl, if you don't get your money in, you're going to be out because whoever buys the property at the tax deed sale gets immediate possession. That's how it works here in Florida, immediate possession. So in comes Susan. Susan, you there? You paying attention? We have a tax deed investor here who's bidding at the auction, and it's Susan. And we call her Moneybags. Susan is Moneybags investor. So Susan comes in and bids on the property. There are other bidders in the auction too, but she ends up being the high bidder. So she ends up winning the property. And in this example, Susan, how much did you pay for the property? Give me an even number, Susan. Is she there? Okay, I'll give you one for her. 100,000. So let's say the high bid at the auction is 100,000. So Susan's bid is $100,000 to buy this property, this house that Liz has not paid the taxes on. So then what Susan's going to do now is $100,000. The opening bid on the property, how much was Liz behind? Let's say in our example, she was $5,000 behind. So the opening bid on the property was actually $5,000, but because it's a competitive bid situation, there's plenty of other bidders bidding on the property. So Susan went up to $100,000 and she was the last woman standing. So she got the property for $100,000. Now look at the poor homeowner, our poor Liz. Now is going to have to leave that property because Susan's going to go have a chat with her and they're going to agree on when she's going to leave the property. So now the homeowner is out of the property because they did not pay the property taxes.
Man, that's a sad day, Sandra Edmond.
Sad day, but there's a rainbow. There's a little good thing happening up in the horizon here. And we've got my volunteer here. Who is this person?
That's Milton. Milton from our group.
Okay. So Milton here is our volunteer, and he's going to play the overage, AKA surplus investor. So what the overage, AKA surplus investor is, it's an advanced form of investing, and it's very lucrative. So what Milton has found out is Susan bought the property for $100,000. The opening bid was $5,000. Liz has already moved out of the property. She's not happy. She lost her property. She's gone to move with somebody. She's gone across the country. She's just gone in the wind. Nobody knows where she went. And she was getting letters from Brooke County, after the sale, but she just ripped them up because she didn't want to hear another thing from Brooke County because they're the ones that took her property. So she wasn't even interested in seeing that, or it was about the bill, and she didn't have money to pay the bill. So what Milton's going to do is Milton is going to track down Liz, the homeowner. And Milton's going to say, Liz, did you know that you have money out there that you may not have realized is out there for you? And I know how to find it.
Oh.
What are you going to say?
I'm going to say, yes, Milton, please, baby, come this way.
Okay, great. See, we need to rehearse that. Okay, so that's wonderful. So Milton's going to say, okay, I can help you get the money. Sometimes people get the money, and.
Oh, you froze up there, Sandra. You
yes.
For a second. You need to repeat that probably.
Okay. I said Susan and I didn't rehearse what she was going to say. Uh-oh, my internet connection is.
Yeah, it's got a little loopy there for a second. Susan, you need to
Okay.
unmute yourself.
I did. I wasn't ready the first time, but now I'm ready.
Okay. Well, Susan, you are our money bags. You bought the property at the auction, so I was playing around with you when I was calling you there. But anyway, so the overage investor, which is Milton, is going to track down the homeowner, and in our case, that's Liz, and tell Liz, I know where you have money coming to you, and you may have not even realized it, but there's a certain amount of time that you have to claim it, otherwise you can lose it. And so Liz is going to wonder, well, how much money is this? And the amount of money is actually going to be $95,000.
Whoa, wait a minute. Is that legal? Whoa.
So yes, Liz has just found out, homeowner Liz has just found out there is $95,000 out there for her that she did not know about. She did not know about. So Milton, in our example here, Milton's his name, right? So Milton, in our example here, as the overage surplus owner, he knows where that money's coming from, and it's coming from the tax deed sale. It's the difference between the high bid that Susan paid and the opening bid, which was $5,000, which leaves us $95,000. So that's a surplus. And if there's no other liens on the property, the homeowner can make a claim on it. So what our Milton's going to do is find her, get her to sign some documents so that he can make the claim on her behalf, and he's going to charge her a fee. And in this example, let's say our fee is going to be 20% of the 95,000, which is what, somewhere around 20 something thousand?
Yeah, 19. Woo, nice.
Yes. So he's going to charge a 20% fee just for his services. And is he going to take that? He's going to take that out of the money that he recovers. And then the rest of it is going to go to Liz. And Liz is going to be happy because now she can find a place to live because she lost her house. So now she's got money. So that overage and surplus investing can be very lucrative, especially in a market like this when the price for properties is going up pretty high. So our homeowner is much happier now because we've done a little marriage here between the overage and surplus owner and our homeowner. But the overage and surplus owner, it's not an easy job because Milton had to hunt and look for her like he was a stalker ex-husband, stalker ex-boyfriend. That is the focus you got to have when you're trying to find these homeowners, because a lot of times they just leave and you have no idea where they are. And in order to make money, you have to locate them. So you kind of become a private investigator. So what about Susan in this case, Moneybags? Couldn't she have done the same thing if Milton had not come around? Absolutely. I've done deals where I bought the property at the auction, and I also asked the homeowner if they realized they had money coming to them. And I also did the overage on it as well. So you can double dip very easily. You guys understand what I'm saying? So there's money left on the table even after the auction. So therefore, you can get some of the money back that you paid for the property instead of being out all that cash. So any questions so far on what we've covered on basically the process and this little timeline?
I have one. And of course, I'm Liz's best new friend. My question is, that 20%, is that a regulator?
Hi, Milton. That's our surplus investor.
Yes, right. I gotta say, heard you speak so many years ago. I've been looking forward to you speaking for years. My question, that 20%, is that some sort of state percentage, or that's just kind of fair market? What makes sense?
Great question, Milton. See, Milton's already appreciating his role. He's like, where do we go with this 20% here? That 20% is not mandated at all. I usually do 20 to 30%, sometimes maybe even more if it's a small overage. So you can come up with whatever number you want.
So in fact, you could even say, I'll just split it with you. Whatever I can come up with, we'll split it and we'll go from there. That would even work, right? If you wanted to.
Liz, that's amazing. That's outstanding. You can even split it with them. You can go 50-50. Anything that I recover, I'll split it with you 50-50.
I found it, so it's be 60-40.
40?
60-40 since I found it.
Finders keepers. But one thing you want to be aware of is that you have competition. So there's other overage investors as well who are looking for
I have a question.
So you want to make sure you have a competitive rate, because you don't want someone coming up behind you and you're offering 60 or 50%, and then they're offering like 20% or 10%. So you want to make sure you keep your fee competitive, and at the same time, you want to build a lot of rapport with them. So therefore, they're not going to go to anybody else. If they trust you and they want to work with you.
I think we had another question from someone.
Sandra.
Okay, Sandra.
Yes, this is Jill.
Oh,
Sandra,
hey, Jill.
where do we get the form from? Hi, where does the form come from that the investor, surplus investor uses?
The form
To
comes
claim
from the county. The county provides the paperwork for you. So
Okay.
that they usually have an affidavit that you're required to fill out, or actually the person that had the overage, but we fill it out on their behalf because we want the check coming to us. We don't want the check going to them. So then also we use a limited power of attorney as well, so that we can sign paperwork on their behalf as well. But most of the counties provide the paperwork, and anything else that they don't provide, I might write it up. I do a cover letter to the county, and you just want to make sure that you're not going to have other investors coming in behind you to take the deal and offer them a better deal than what you have with them.
That's probably true, but whoever gets a notary and a limited power of attorney and a contract signed, at that point, you already have some sort of an upper hand. So whoever gets there first, wouldn't that be the case, especially if they sign a contract?
Yeah, if they sign a contract and agreement with you, yes. However, if you don't want the county getting two sets of paperwork, because they'll just pause and stop the whole thing and wait. And then you have to go over it. So
really?
Okay. Yeah. You don't want to add confusion to the mix, because if for some reason they lose confidence in you, or they don't want to do it with you and they start doing it with somebody else, that means somebody else is sending them a set of paperwork as well. And so at that point, the county might say, we don't know what's going on here. So
Got it.
Yeah, that might mess up your deal. The hardest part on those overages is finding the person and getting them to cooperate. That is it. Because a lot of times people might think it's a scam. They think, oh, no, this cannot be for real. Like, how many people listening to me right now are like, oh, I would never believe it if somebody contacted me.
Right.
Well, Pablo speaks Spanish. I actually had Spanish people tell me they wouldn't sign the paper, and so they didn't sign it, and their overage just ended up going to the state eventually until it was evaporated. The county ate it up. It was in Duval County because they charge a monthly fee for holding it.
Yeah.
Really?
They ate it up eventually. Yeah.
After 3 years, the Broke County gets to keep it. So Broke County, at some point they get to keep all the money anyway. So if the homeowner does not apply for it, or you don't help them to apply for it, they don't get it. And once the state of Florida has the money, I do not pursue those for legal reasons. So the ones that the counties have already sent to the state of Florida, I don't advise you to pursue those. Just leave those alone. It's only the ones that are.
Have you ever tried to pursue them?
Say that again?
Have you ever tried to pursue them?
Legally, I cannot pursue them.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you need a specialized license to do those. So I only do the ones that the counties are holding the money.
Gotcha.
Asset recovery license, probably.
Say that again, Susan?
Do you need like an asset recovery license, like people who do the credit card asset recovery?
No, you need to be a CPA, an attorney, or a, what was the third one? CPA, attorney, or private investigator.
Okay.
Oh, I might just become a private investigator then.
Sandra, I have a question. I may be missing something that's obvious to the rest of the audience, but our friend Liz here, my good friend Liz, she maybe owns a property free and clear. Let's say that's the case. She owned the free and clear, and somehow she couldn't find $5,000, right? But if the bid was 100, the taxes were 5. The other 95 goes to who, assuming there's no mortgage?
Remember, that's the overage. That's the surplus money. And that's what we're going to apply for. That's what you're doing.
So I
You're
gave her.
contacting Liz, and that's
Gotcha.
where we're getting our 20%, 70%, whatever number you want, to get money that Liz doesn't know that she has out there. That's the lost money.
Gotcha. Sorry, I missed that. Thank you.
Because she's going on with her life, Milton. In a perfect world, she would get the letter, she'd go get it, it would be no problem. But she's put her head in the sand. She put all those bills in the garbage. She doesn't know, she's not getting her mail because she's ignored all that stuff because she's not paying her bills. She moved on, and she doesn't know that she has the money because she's not getting the mail.
I'm running with the bulls. That's what I'm doing. So I don't have time for
I'm running with the bulls.
Either that or she's in prison,
running.
with getting taxed. She's in prison getting taxed or something. Who knows where she is?
Now, Sandra, maybe you're going to cover that next, and I may be asking too soon. You can tell me. But so in this case, what Milton said is, I didn't have a mortgage, so therefore any overage is mine. But if I did have a mortgage or other type of lien like that in place, what happens then?
Well, then the money will not be yours. We're going to have to share. If you had a mortgage, you're going to have to share. The money is not all going to be yours. Only if it's free and clear, it's all yours.
So in other words, the amount that I owed in the mortgage would go to pay off the mortgage, and then the balance
If the
would be
mortgage
mine.
company made a claim. Not all mortgage companies make a claim on it. I've done deals where several months later, the mortgage company said, we're not going to make a claim on anything. We absolve ourselves of this deal. And so
Get out of here.
Make a claim on behalf of the previous homeowner. Yes.
Wow, that's so interesting. I've not heard that one. Thank you. Wow,
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. And that was a deal that I wanted to fire myself over because I bought a piece of property and I meant to go find a guy to do an overage, but I never got around to it. I was busy doing other stuff. And then finally I was like, you know what? You should fire yourself because that's just money sitting out there. It was like $30,000 in my fee. So I sent a friend out to go find a guy. I split the fee with a friend of mine. My friend found the person. And we're able to do the deal for him, and he got his money. And even though there was a mortgage on the property, the mortgage company released the mortgage so that we can go ahead and go after the overage.
Amazing.
And now
That
the
is
state of
so
Florida,
amazing.
as of a couple years ago, they have limited the amount of time that the lenders or any encumbrances or mortgage companies or whoever the liens may be can make a claim on the overage. So they have a much shorter time to make it. And if they do not make the claim on the overage, the homeowner can make a claim on all of it.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Are they limited in their time? Otherwise, you're just sitting there waiting forever, or they could come back on you later or something, right? So that's wonderful.
They are limited in their time to make a claim. And if they don't make the claim, then the homeowner gets to keep it all. If the homeowner doesn't make the claim, guess who gets to keep the money?
The city.
I guess our wonderful state or county or whatever. Yeah.
Broke County.
What's the name of our county?
Broke County.
Broke County.
Broke County gets to keep it. So at any point in time, there are actually millions of dollars floating around in the accounts of Broke County because they're moving money around from these overages. You know, they start at the tax deed office. And once they've been there for a certain amount of time, then they move the money over to a different department. The Board of County Commissions holds on to it until finally the time is expired and the homeowner can't make the claim anymore. And Broke County is celebrating because they get to keep that money. Now, the state of Florida has asked a lot of the counties, listen, we want to help you out with your accounting. So when people have the surplus money, just send it to us, sweetie. We'll hold on to it in our, Florida find money. What's it called? Florida treasure hunt. We'll hold on to that money for you so you don't have to bother with all that accounting. And some of these counties have said, we don't think so. We're going to hold on to it right here. We are not going to submit it over to the state of Florida after a year. But other counties do submit it to the state of Florida after a year. So you want to make sure you're familiar with which ones that do that, so you do not try to pursue the ones the state already has. Was there another question?
I had a question there, Sandra. So maybe you'll get to this later, but just time frame wise, is this something where like the auction ends and you're immediately trying to track these people down, or is it something where 30 days or 60 days, or what's the?
Immediately after the auction, you are trying to track them down. You track them down whenever you want to.
I have seen people get letters before the auction's even over.
See, Susan, you're telling all my secrets. Okay?
Oh, no.
Yes, yes, you can before the auction is even over as well. Before the auction even starts.
Yeah.
Yes. Any other questions?
I don't see any more. I think we're good.
All right, so now we're going to go through the 7 ways to make money in delinquent taxes, because the property can be delinquent and tax deeds is not the only way to make money on it. So Susan, does this property look familiar? This is right there in Bartow and Polk County, and Susan helped me with this one years ago.
Yep.
Yes.
Familiar. Yes. They spoke Spanish, some Spanish people.
Yes, yes, yes. It was Susan and Becky that had gone through one of my classes, and I had a deal out in Polk, and I just didn't feel like driving all the way out there. And so I sent the contract over. I contacted this homeowner that owned this double wide mobile home that sits on half an acre in Bartow. And I asked him if he wanted to sell the property, and he responded and said, yes, he wanted to sell it. So he had 2 lots. This property the mobile sits on one lot, and right next door is another lot. So I sent him a contract through Staples to see if he could go get the contract, sign it, because he didn't have email. And he could not even afford to go to Staples to pay for the copies. So that's how it was. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to end up having him not go pick them up and I lose the deal. So I was talking to Susan and Becky, and I was like, listen, can you guys go over there and ask him to sign it? I think I may have needed something to be notarized. I don't remember if Susan notarized something for me or not. But these ladies went over there and did a great job. Not only did they get him to sign the contract for me, but they got him to throw in the lot next door at no extra cost. So that way he won't have to worry about it when he moves to Texas, because that is delinquent. So this way we take all the pressure off of him, and he doesn't have to worry about paying the taxes on that lot too.
It was all fenced in the same property anyway.
Huh? It's all inside the same gate too, right?
It was all fenced in together. Yep.
Yeah, this the property we send the contract for, that mobile sits on one lot, and then the second lot next door was deeded separately, but it was all inside that one gate. Yeah. And so he agreed to sell them both to us. And he was behind on the taxes. He had no money to pay it. I believe he was on title with his mom, and they both lived really nice mobile. I mean, once you're inside, nice. I mean, nice. They had a whirlpool tub, nice, big, spacious area, fireplace. And so this particular property was delinquent in taxes. And he was way behind on taxes. That's why I was coming up in the tax deed sale. So I prevented other investors from buying it and bidding the property up to a higher price by offering to buy it from him. So let me show you the numbers on this deal here.
Before the sale, she's saying.
Yes, I purchased it before the sale. So I prevented other investors. I prevented the property from going to the tax deed sale and having other investors bid against me and drive the price up much higher. So I sent him an offer. I made him an offer to purchase it. So my purchase price was $18,000 for this double wide on half an acre. That's a really good deal. On 2 lots that encompassed half an acre. He was behind about $3,000 in back taxes, so it ended up being $21,000 altogether. So what I did was I used a self-directed IRA to purchase the property. So I borrowed money from someone's self-directed IRA. And then I turned around and sold the property with seller financing. So I financed that property. I sold it for $52,000. The owner, the new owner, put $15,000 down. I only asked for 10 and he put 15. And we charged him 8.9% interest over a 10-year amortization. So our payments were supposed to be $466.70 a month, meaning the payments the buyer was supposed to give to us was $466.70 a month for the 10 years. Well, I had the best buyers in the world because not only did they pay on time, they would pay a few days early sometimes, and they would pay more than what was required. In the beginning, they pay their $466, and then afterwards, they'd start paying $500. Towards the end, they wanted to speed it up to pay it off sooner, and they ended up paying it 7 years instead of 10 years. So yeah, instead of paying the 10-year mark, they got up to the 7-year mark and it was completely paid off. Really nice people. So what I did with them was I had an attorney draw up the note in the mortgage. I didn't do that myself. So the attorney drew up the note in the mortgage, and we pretty much, they put $15,000 down, and then a month later or the month after the next, they start making their payments. Really nice people. So the one problem I did not want to have is, and we might call this rich people problems here, because if someone had told me this would be a pain, I'd be like, oh, you are crazy. But I was like, I don't want to be accepting checks every month. I got to go to the banker, do a deposit every month on these checks. So how could I make it easier on myself? So what I did was, an investor had told me that Bank of America does deposit only cards. So they're ATM cards that you can only deposit money into the account. You cannot remove money. So I created a separate checking account, and I gave each one of them, it was actually a couple and their granddaughter who went on title. So I gave all three of them, each of them, their own deposit only card through Bank of America for that one particular account. So anytime they need to make a payment, they just went to the ATM, put their money in, and I would see exactly when they made the payment, if they made it early, if they made it late, or whatever. And so they always paid early. So that made it super easy for me. So there's no more having to look for the checks, send them a receipt and stuff like that. I didn't have to send them a receipt, but I would just set up a little Google spreadsheet, and I kept track of the payments in the Google spreadsheet so we would know where they were on those payments. And that was a really good deal because in the end, I ended up netting $44,000 in profit, and I never spent any of my own money. And the only thing I had to do on this property was I paid a cleaning lady to clean it. I had an air conditioning guy come and put some Freon in the AC. And then we also, the owner, the new buyer asked us when was the septic tank last pumped. I had no idea. And it didn't cost that much to pump it out. So I company, and they came and pumped it out so that everything was ready for them and no problems. And they paid that off probably like not too long ago. $44,000 profit, not so bad. So this one here, the second way, so the first way is buying the properties before the auction. So here's another property that it did not actually get an auction date scheduled, but they were severely behind on property taxes. The gentleman that owned the property now had inherited the property from a relative of his who had passed away. And so he lived out of state, and there were tenants living in the property who had not been paying him rent for months, for 9 months. He had not received rent from these tenants. And this was not because of COVID. This was December 2019. They were not paying him rent. So we were like, well, we'll buy the property from you with the tenants in place. How much did you want for the property? So we continued to get him talking about the property and what a big pain and a problem it was. And he just started, and this is one of my friends here, one of my best friends, ended up doing a tax deed deal with me, not a tax deed, but a tax delinquent property deal with me, because she always wanted to get into real estate. And so we did this deal together, and she presented at our REIA at CFRI as Deal of the Month. So that's her picture and my picture right there. We did this deal together. So we did a joint venture, and I'm going to get to what a joint venture is in a moment. But we partnered on this deal. And what we did, what her part was that she was following up on phone calls we would make of people that may be interested in selling. And so this gentleman here, the more she talked to him about how much he wanted, he just continued dropping the price, because I told her, I said, listen, the most we want to pay at most on this thing here, according to our numbers, is don't go anything over 20, 25,000. But the lower you can get, the better, but do not give him a price. Let him name the price. And so he was like, at first he was like, I don't know. I don't even know if I could get 20,000 for it. Maybe 9 or 6. He just kept lowering and lowering his amount, his number. So anyway, we ended up closing and purchasing it from him for, I believe it was 13, but I think there was another contract. I think I may have gotten it from the wrong contract, because I think we got it down to 9,000. We ended up sending another contract later to lower the price because the tenants that were in there were being a huge pain. So in this particular deal, we took over removing the tenants from the property to make it easier from him. We took over all the headaches. So before closing, we hired an attorney to do the eviction. But before we did the eviction, we tried to communicate with these people, tried to talk to them, but they were really hard to communicate with. They had a huge fence up there, dogs in the front yard. They kept the door, the gates locked because they didn't want anybody in there for obvious reasons. And I think they were like even doing drugs and doing all sorts of stuff over there. But anyway, it had huge code enforcement liens because they had trash like you don't believe. What they were doing was they were running a business by burning the trash for their neighbors and people in the area. So they were collecting money and then lighting the trash on fire. And at one particular point when we talked to code enforcement about the deal, and that's the thing too, you want to get to know your code enforcement officers and be on very good terms with them. So the code enforcement officers, as soon as we mentioned the address, like, oh my God, yes, we know that one. They said, yeah, the neighbors had to call the fire department once because there were 30-foot flames at the property over trash that they were burning. So this property had really large code enforcement liens. But okay, let's get to the code enforcement liens. So can you see the screen there? You see how much I've got circled there? That was the accrued code enforcement fine, $86,850. This is code enforcement paperwork right here. I sold the property to another buyer without even getting rid of the code enforcement liens. The buyer took it subject to the code enforcement liens. Why did the buyer do that? Because I had explained to the buyer and they had confidence in me that they can get the liens reduced from code enforcement and that I would help them through the process. I've done this before with code enforcement. So they purchased the property subject to the liens, and then we helped them with the paperwork to get code enforcement to reduce it. We offered $500 to code enforcement, and code enforcement rebutted and said, you know what, we'll take $1,000. So they dropped it from $86,850 to $1,000. What do you guys think about that?
Fantastic.
That's amazing. Good job.
Yep. So before we even got to the whole code enforcement issue, we had to get rid of the tenants that were in there. So this was eviction day. So the deputies had to show up out there because sure enough, when they got the eviction notice, they still did not leave. So the deputies were there that day, and the deputies told us they were more than familiar with the address. That address had lots of issues going on before, so they brought extra deputies with them. So there we are right there. You can see us there out front talking with the deputies as they were doing the eviction. So another way, so the first way is buying properties before the auction. The second way is buying the properties at the actual tax deed sale. Now, these two pictures I'm showing you in front of here, it's the same property. It's just the before and the after. And one thing you're not going to believe is I only spent a couple $1,000s on this property to get it look like the way it does on the right here. We bought it for $27,000. And then we turned around and flipped it, still needing rehab, because all we did was clean out the property and paint it and do some landscaping. Some of the windows, I think one window had a broken pane, and I paid somebody to change the window pane instead of changing the window, because as your inspectors and contractors there will tell you, you need permits to change windows. So we didn't want to end up going through all that, spending all that money. So we just changed the window pane. And if you see out front there, there's some nice mulch and some flowers. Those flowers came from Family Dollar. Those are plastic flowers. So we can make our little rehab project look real pretty in the pictures. So we put some flowers out there, and once we're done, the property is sold. We could pick up our flowers and take them to the next property if we want to. But this way, it's really because it's the summertime, you don't want to have to turn the water on and have to water the properties. We just put these little fake flowers into the ground and take pictures. And then, by the time it's all done with, we're finished. So this property ended up buying it at the auction for $27,000 and sold it to a landlord for $41,000. We didn't do any work on the property at all, except for remove the boards, have somebody clean out the property, fix the window pane. The largest expense was, I believe, $600 for the landscaper, because there were some trees. There was a huge tree in the backyard that needed to be cut. It was actually coming over from the neighbor's side of the yard. And the branches, huge set of branches that almost filled up and took up the entire yard, had been there so low that they have already started to reroot into the ground. So of course, the neighbor's probably not going to pay for it. So we ended up paying somebody to remove those. So you heard me mention joint ventures a moment ago. I did a joint venture deal with one of my friends. So a joint venture is basically, you decide to work together with another investor. You're both either going to buy a piece of property together. It could be, a flip, it could be a wholesale, it could be, a rental property, whatever it is, you're going to join forces. So in a joint venture, each person brings their own talents to the deal. So a lot of my joint ventures, the way I set them up is the investor that wants to partner with me, wants to do the joint venture with me, they bring the cash to purchase the property. And then I use my skills to find the property, do the deal, market it, do everything related to the deal. And then in the end, we split the profits 50-50. So the investor gets back their money that we use to purchase the property. And then whatever profits we have, we split them 50-50. So that's the joint ventures that I do with other investors. Some people do joint ventures where maybe both of you are heavily involved in it and you're splitting the cost of the property 50-50, but you could totally do joint ventures where one person's bringing in the money, the other person's bringing in the talent to find the deal. Okay, so then the third type of deal, and this is, I wanted to show you this to show you how easy it could be. This is actually how I did my very first deal. It was actually a joint venture before I even knew what a joint venture was. I had been coming and telling my mother about all these properties I was researching because I had just started learning about real estate and trying real estate out. And I found all these properties that had gone through the tax deed sale and nobody had purchased them. And so I did my market research and found out how much they were worth, how much it would cost to fix it up. And I saw that there was a profit in these. And so I was just digging, doing the research. When you first get started, you're not quite ready to jump in yet, but you're just looking and like completely awed by everything that you're seeing. So one day my mom comes home and she was like, hey, take this money and go buy that lot. It was a vacant lot you've been telling me about, the commercial one that's on Orange Avenue. So we know Orange Avenue really well. This was in Fort Pierce because my parents used to have a store right there on Orange Avenue. So this is just a few blocks down from where their store used to be. So she was like, brought this cash for me to go ahead and purchase the property. And I was like, oh, no. I probably don't even know what I'm doing. There are plenty of people that know a lot more than me. And maybe I'm wrong about something, that this might not be such a good deal after all. But she encouraged me and pushed me. And she's like, oh, no, your parents, they think you're the smartest person in the world. Well, most of the time. Sometimes they don't think you're so smart. So she pushed me and encouraged me to go ahead and do it. So she funded the deal. And then we split the profits 50-50 on that. This was a vacant lot which at one point in time had a store or a house. It had a structure on there before, and code enforcement had demolished the property. And we purchased it off the lands available list. So that's number 3, is lands available. Lands available are properties that have already gone to the auction and nobody bid on them. Because a lot of people think, oh, it's just junk. Properties coming up in the tax deed sale, they think, oh, it's just junk. So this was back in 2004. And at the time, their lands available list was literally a list. It was in a book, a huge book that you would open up, flip it open. And the book, the cover of the book was probably like 2 feet wide. So it was like a huge leather bound book. And you'd actually just go through the pages looking at deals, and I would make notes on what I was seeing on my notebook and then go out and do more research on it. So this particular property here, it was a vacant commercial lot. It was anywhere between 1.25 and 1/2 acres. So it was pretty large. So we used my mother's 401k money, because when my mom came to me with cash, I was like, where'd you get this money from? I didn't know you had any money. So she was like, I have money in my 401k. So she had pulled it out of her 401k. It cost $12,800. And then there were some code enforcement liens. So with the code enforcement liens and everything, that was the price. So we got a contract on it within 2 months for $49,000. We'd advertised it for $50,000. Long story behind that, but anyway, we ended up getting $49,000. We closed a few months later, and then we split the profits 50-50. And at that point, I now had money to start buying other land to flip and make more money. But before this deal was done, I did not have money to start buying a bunch of properties and land to start flipping my land flipping, property flipping business. So what I was doing was the research that I was doing. My mom had other friends who were nurses as well, CNAs, and they also wanted to take part in this investing as well. And they wanted me to find properties for them too. So what I would do is I would do some research for them and then basically fill out all the paperwork that they needed to be filled out and everything. And I would charge them a fee. And so basically I would, give them my research basically so that they can go ahead and purchase the property if that's a deal that they wanted to do. And one of my mom's friends purchased one of the lots for $18,000 and sold it for $110,000. Okay, 110. So that lead came off the lands available, also known as, sometimes they refer to it as the list of lands. So the fourth way is what we just talked about with our friend Milton here, who was our overage surplus investor. And that's basically what we discussed, whereas we have the final bid, the high price, which is what Susan ended up paying, and the opening bid. So our high bid is whatever the highest price that it's sold for at the auction. You subtract that from whatever the back taxes were, which was the opening bid, and that will give you roundabout what the overage or surplus amount is. And so that surplus amount can be very valuable. It's very lucrative deals. There are companies which this is all they do is pursue surplus and overage leads. So if this is a way that you want to invest, it is very lucrative. And let me tell you right now, during this market we're in, I've been doing lots of overage and surplus deals. And I'm going to tell you a little story at the end about some of these overage and surplus deals and what it's gotten me. Person that I helped out with an overage and surplus deal. Let me know if you can hear the audio while we. Okay, Lisa, what did you think when you first found out about the money?
The first time you told me, I was like skeptical because you hear so much, but then I was thinking, I was laying in bed and I said, wait, let me text and ask them, is there anything out there? But when I got your email and I seen that amount, I'm like, oh, I sat up in the bed, I was like, oh my God, let me cancel that. And then, I mean, it's really true. It's really true. I'm not a person to believe that easy, but you made a believer out of me. Well, thank you, Jesus.
And you know what? What are you going to do with that money now that you have it? Is it good to get, that amount? You can go ahead and tell them how much it is.
$20,200. It's all hard to change. I'm paying off my truck and the rest, I'm going to put up, invest in whatever I can find that's good. I'm going to use it wisely though. But yeah, I'm so excited. I'm so happy.
You're very welcome. We're happy to make people happy
And
like that.
thank you very much, Miss Edwards, because
Edmond, it's Edmond.
Miss Edmond, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Because I would have never known if you hadn't came to my door and said that to me. I would have never known. And thank you very much. And she can help you too.
You're very welcome. We actually don't even go the door to many people, so you're one of the few. So it's an added blessing that you got that.
Oh, God sent you my way. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
So this is Lisa, an actual homeowner that had a property coming up in the tax deed sale. Were you guys able to hear her?
Yes, we were. It was great.
Okay.
Super great.
Yes. So she is one of those that had an overage coming to her. And I actually met her when I was looking at her property to purchase it in the auction. And I just started chit-chatting with her about why she had not paid her taxes. Until later I contacted her once I saw that she had the overage, and she was more than willing to go ahead and do that. And so she came down to our office and picked up her check that day. She was so happy. And so that's the best time to get the testimonial, is the day that they get their check, because they are super, super happy. And I have a whole list of procedures and a checklist and set of instructions for doing these overages as well. So now let's move on to number 5. The 5th way to make money in tax delinquent properties is through the tax lien certificates. So every year, and we actually have that coming up right now in the state of Florida, in May, in late May to early June, all the counties throughout Florida are going to be selling their tax lien certificates. So, right, remember early on, was that Adrian? I think Adrian was the one who played the tax lien certificate investor in our little role exercise, right, Liz? Okay, thank you.
Right.
So this was the role that Adrian played. So what the counties are doing now, Broke County, in our example here, it's Broke County. Broke County is going to put a call out to all investors to ask them at the end of May, early June, investors, we have properties that people have not paid their taxes on. And we are going to give you up to 18% interest if you will loan us the money that the investors have not paid, because Broke County needs the money from property taxes to pay for roads, to pay for schools, and emergency services. Everything the county offers, the bulk of the money comes from taxes. So if they budget to get the tax dollars, but they don't receive those tax dollars, they really need investors to come in, chip in, buy a tax lien. So what the county is going to be doing is auctioning off an opportunity to buy what they're called tax certificates. And the certificate represents 1 year of delinquent taxes on a property. So what the county does is that they'll put out a list of all the parcel IDs, all the properties that are delinquent in taxes, and how much for that year's taxes. So right now we're in 2021. So they're going to be selling certificates from properties that were delinquent in 2020. So you can imagine it's probably going to be a lot from 2020. So the county is going to put those certificates up for sale, and whoever wins the bid at the auction is the person who's willing to take the least amount of interest. So the county starts their auction off at the highest interest rate, which is 18. It's basically a reverse bid. So whoever's willing to take the lowest ends up with the certificate. So that's one way that Broke County can get reimbursed temporarily until the homeowner pays their taxes. Once the homeowner pays their taxes, the county charges them a fee, which will be able to pay off the interest that they have to pay the investor. And so once the homeowner pays their back taxes and that fee, the county will turn around and send a check to Adrian. So all Adrian's going to do is get a check in the mail. No warning, just checks start popping up in the mail. And I got to tell you, that's some fun stuff when you bought certificates and checks just start appearing in the mail, because the county's either sold the certificate, and then the owner has already paid the taxes for that certificate, or another real estate investor sent the property to a tax deed sale, therefore paying off the taxes. So that's tax lien certificates. So at the end of May, early June, they're going to start having the certificate sale in Polk County. And that's when you can go ahead and get up to 18% interest, which is paying right now. You probably laugh at how much they pay. Very, very little interest. point something. They make billboards out of it too. And what they pay for their savings accounts, like almost negative equity at this point. So anyway, with the tax certificates, you can get anywhere from 5 to 18% interest. However, you're not guaranteed to get 18% at the regular auction. You are not guaranteed to get 18% at the regular auction because it's a reverse bid, and whoever's willing to take the least ends up with that certificate at a certain percentage. So if there's other people interested in the certificate, you are not going to get it at 18%. So that's why I tell people, investors that I know and other students, I'm like, listen, don't go to the annual sale. Don't bother. Wait till the county becomes a motivated seller. When are they a motivated seller? When they can't sell certificates, when there are more certificates than there are investors to purchase. So depending on the market cycle, a lot of places, especially the huge metropolitan areas, all their certificates get sold because there's so many investors that want to buy. But the smaller areas and not so popular areas always have certificates left over that just could not be sold at the auction. So when Polk County has leftover certificates and the auction is over, they're super motivated. And so those are called county held certificates. County held certificates. So that's a name that you want to write down because that's what the county calls them. And that's the ones you do not need to bid 18%. You can actually get that property for the straight 18%. You don't need to bid against anybody else and have them lower the price on that. So those are county held certificates. So we just went over the 7 ways. One is buying before the auction. The second is buying properties at the auction. The third are the lands available properties that did not sell. The fourth is doing the overage and surplus. The fifth way is tax lien certificates or buying certificates that did not sell is the 6th way. Now there is a 7th way, and that's the more advanced way. And I will tell you that one at when? The meeting after the meeting. So real quickly, I'm going to touch this, but let me go through the timeline here to help you understand the process. So every year in October, the county, and we have a fictional one here, so we got a timeline that begins here in 2018. So every year in October, the Polk County will send a tax bill out to the homeowners, let them know their taxes will be due on March 31st of 2019. So those 2018 taxes are due on March 31st. By April 1st of 2019, it is now considered delinquent if you don't pay it by then. Then around May or June, the county is going to sell their certificates for the 2018 year that they did not receive taxes for. So the first certificate in our fictional one here will get sold in May or June of 2019. So later on that year, in October of 2019, same thing happens all over again. So on the left is the event, and on the right is the timeline here. I'm sorry, number 11 is the time. On the left is the timeline. On the right are the events that happen. So in October 2019, later that year, again, another tax bill is sent out. You can pay it early or you can pay it, but March 31st is the deadline. April 1st, it's considered delinquent. In May, they're going to sell another certificate, so a second certificate gets sold. Later on that year, October 2020, again, tax bill gets sent out, due by March 31st, April 1st, considered delinquent. So April 1st is important because that is the date that the counties, all the counties throughout Florida, use as the birthday for all tax certificates. So as soon as April 1st comes around, think of it as a birth date for a certificate. So the first certificate is now 2 years old, and the second certificate just turned 1 year old here. So as soon as that first certificate turns 2 years old, that investor can go to Polk County and say, listen, where's my money? You told me I would get my money by now. Where is my money? So now the county is going to hold the auction because they're going to go, you know, we're broke. So we're going to hold the auction to try to get the money that you need. So 4 weeks before the sale, they're going to advertise it. It's going to be up on their website. It's going to be in the newspaper. Then 20 days before the sale, the owner is going to start receiving notices of the sale. And any of the lien holders, if they have a mortgage, if they have HOAs, condo associations, everybody's going to be notified. And then the tax deed auction happens, and that's when our money bags come to the auction to purchase the properties at the auction. Any questions so far on the 6 ways that we've just gone through? The 7th we'll go through at the meeting after the meeting. No? Okay, perfect. Let's go on to the Polk County tax deed auction. So Polk County has a tax deed auction coming up, I believe, on the 20th. And they have it started out with over 200 properties. I think it's down to like 160.
I'm sorry, Sandra. I had a problem unmuting myself, but there are a couple people that had questions.
Okay.
Real quick, they just couldn't get to you fast enough. Let's see, Jill Dorset, you had one, I believe.
Is that starting that now? I wanted to know when the auction would be for Polk County.
Oh, we're about to get into that.
Okay, and then I think there was someone else that had something, Frank Falco?
I got one. At the auction, most liens and mortgages are forgiven. On the overage, does any of the overage go to any of the liens or mortgages?
Well, they're not actually, they're wiped out at the sale. So therefore the person buying into the tax deed sale is no longer responsible. Now, what happens with the homeowner and the actual person that they owe money to, that's a whole different story. But the person buying into the tax deed sale is not responsible for buying those, as long as the county held the sale properly and did everything correctly. Now, what was your question again, Frank?
Okay, does any of that money, we'll say that there's $50,000 left over. And they had a mortgage and there was liens for the county and all that stuff there. Does any of that $50,000 go to pay off any of that?
Yes. So if there was a mortgage or any outstanding debt on the property, and if there is an overage, those people that have an overage, in order of their priority on the lien, they are first to apply for the overage. So they have to apply for the overage to get whatever is left over on their mortgage. Let's say they had a $100,000 mortgage on the house and they had $50,000 left that they had not paid. As long as the lender will provide documentation on what is owed and fills out the paperwork with the county will release that overage to the lenders. That's why when we're doing overages, we don't go after properties that have liens or mortgages on them.
Thank you.
And I believe Steve Mansfield. Steve, you had a question for her? Steve, are you available to ask it? Oh, there you are. Can we hear you? I think you're trying to unmute yourself. Okay, we can't hear him, so I'll ask for him. He just wanted to make sure, are there states that you cannot get overages, Sandra?
I'm sure there are. I have not done stuff outside the state of Florida. I only specialize in Florida. What state specifically is he interested in?
I don't know. Steve, can you?
Steve, you can do them all over the country if you want. Florida has 67 counties, so I have not had a chance to exhaust myself that I need to go out of state, but you can do them in other states as well, as long as their statutes and their laws don't prohibit it. So it's up to you to do the research. Remember, we did our disclaimer earlier on to find out what their parameters are on that.
Oh, he says over in chat he was looking at Virginia specifically, so that's probably a state he also lives in or has property in.
Okay, yeah, you'd have to look them up in Virginia to see.
Very good. That's all the questions I saw.
And I can help you look into that if that's a place that you're really interested in, you want to get started.
Very good. I think that's all we had for folks. Sorry to interrupt you there, Sandra.
No problem. Okay, so who wanted to know when the auction is in Polk?
Yes.
Somebody mentioned that as their question. I don't remember what her name was.
Yes, that was Jill.
Jill. Okay, so Jill, the auction in Polk County is on May 20th. I believe it's the 20th. It's pretty big. There's a lot of properties coming up in that sale. A lot of land, a few houses. So we're going to go through what some of those properties are so you have an idea. in how to get to the Polk County tax deed sale. So I just want to caution you, buying properties through the tax deed auction is an advanced form of investing. It is not just to just jump in there and just start bidding because you see it's online and you think, I've bid on eBay before, why not try this? No, it's not the same, because there are liens that may not get removed from the property. And I always advocate and tell people it is important that you go see every property before you bid on it, because you just don't know what circumstances are going on there at the property or what issues. If somebody tells you, I'm going to burn down this house before I move out, trust them. They will burn down the house before they move out. So I personally don't like to deal with crazy. So I like to find out ahead of time if I'm dealing with crazy, because you can't reason with crazy. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and delve into the Polk County tax deed auction. So one way that you can get to the auction, on my website, Queen of Tax Deeds, I've got a county links page. And if you click on the county links page, you're going to see the Polk County, property appraiser, tax collector, and clerk of court link. So for all the counties, if you could easily Google blank county tax deed sale, and one of the auction sites will come up if it's an auction website for that county. Or one of the best ways that you can do is go directly to that county's clerk of court. So in this example, it would be Polk County's clerk of court. And when you go to the tax deed page and on the clerk of court's website, there's going to be a link to the online auction, and Polk County does their sale online. They used to be in person, but now you have to just bid online. Then they also have a separate link to the county's website of information that the county has on all these properties. So just be aware, all the counties usually has a link that takes you outside of the county's website and a link that's inside the county's website. So on the actual county's website is where you see the tax deed file and information about the property. So this right here on your screen here is the Polk County tax deed online auction website. It's a real auction website here. And as you can see here, it says there's no cases running because the auction has not started. It's not on until May 20th. And as you can see there, it says there are 17 pages of properties that are going to be sold at the auction. So properties that have an online auction makes it a little bit more complex, because now you have to learn the rules and understand how the online auction works, in addition to understanding and knowing how tax deeds work and the title that comes with the tax deed. So here's a piece of property that we just pulled up. Now, full disclosure, I have not started looking at any. I plan on bidding at this auction, but I have not started looking at any of these properties yet, because what is today's date? The 7th, right? Yesterday was Cinco de Mayo. It was the 6th, right?
I've looked at some of them.
Okay, so Susan has looked at some of them and she'll probably be able to chime in. I have not looked at them because we still have probably at least a week to a couple weeks out from the sale, and many properties are going to get redeemed between now and then. So I don't advise looking at them too soon. I don't start looking at properties till maybe, if it's not a huge sale, 1 day out. If it's a big sale, maybe 3 days out from the auction. So these deals here, these are pictures from Google Street View that I have from what we pulled up online. And some of these, don't fall in love with them now, because they might end up getting redeemed. The homeowner might pay the taxes, or an investor might find that homeowner, make them an offer and try to purchase it before the auction. So this property is in Waverly, Avenue B, and the opening bid on this one is $7,031.49. So the homeowner has not paid the taxes. Some of the comps show the value could be around $47,000. It has 1,500 square feet. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath block house with a carport. So, as investors, we can run our Mayo formula or pay more than Mayo in this market just to try to get the property. But one of the things that we want to try to do, and what I've been doing, is calling all the homeowners with properties coming up in the sale to see if I can get any of them to sell me the property before the auction, because this market is really hot. So if I can't get it before the auction, then I'll go ahead and bid at the auction. So that means driving out to the property, sometimes contacting whoever's in possession of the property, talking to them, and then trying to assess for myself how much repairs the property is going to need, so I can have a good idea on what my numbers are going to be for this property. And also you want to make sure you know what your exit strategy is. Am I going to flip it? Am I going to rent it? Am I going to sell out owner financing? What is it I plan on doing with the property? And for all I know, this is a Google Street View picture. This house may not even be there anymore. It could have been bulldozed already by Polk County. Polk County could have bulldozed this property because maybe it's been sitting there empty and it's out of shape or bad. Susan, did you see this one?
I didn't go by that one yet. I had some other ones that were a little bit more, I just happened to be going somewhere else to see some tenants that I was interpreting for, and I went by some other ones. But also they need to be aware, like you said, to make sure they get out of their car. So those new investors that are intimidated, because I looked at one time from the front of the house, it looked perfectly fine. I went around the back and opened the door and the whole roof fell off the back porch, or it was burned out. Another one, the whole backside of the house was burned out. So you got to really get out and you got to walk around the property. You can look in the windows. And another one that I looked at last month, the neighbor said, just go inside. It was a mobile home in a park, and there was black mold and there was holes in the roof and in the floor and all kinds of stuff going on that I couldn't believe what that thing went for. But see, I was informed, so obviously I didn't pay that for it because I got out of my car and I went inside, and I looked. So
and a lot of people that are buying these, they're not getting out. A lot of people aren't even going out to the properties to look, so they're making mistakes and they end up not sending in their money to pay the final amount. And what she says is right. The neighbors usually have the most information. So I talk with the neighbors, the people around it. And I'm really careful these days about going inside properties. You never want to go in by yourself. Of course, I have a concealed weapons permit, so I sometimes go in properties on my own, but I'm very careful in my technique on how I approach the property, what I say with the neighbors, what I leave at the front door, just in case things go wrong at the property. I don't get po-po showing up putting the shiny bracelets on me, okay? So you just want to be really careful when you're out of these properties. But as investors, we want to try to get inside or look in the window. Usually that's why I like looking at them the day before the sale or a couple days out, because another investor's probably already been by there and the front door might have already been kicked in.
Oh yeah, usually.
So a lot of these properties, and the neighbors will also tell you how to get in as well. They'll be like, oh yeah, the back door is open. They'll be like, oh, show me. And then they'll go over there and show you how to get in. Say that again, Susan.
Yeah, that's what I do. I always approach the neighbors first because I make sure it's okay with them, and they'll be the ones to tell you to go in. So they'll give you all the 4 ones, because I don't want this. They're the ones that are going to call the cops. If anybody's going to call the cops, they're always the ones that encourage me to go in, because I know if anybody's going to say anything, it's going to be them.
Exactly.
So yeah.
We were across the street, next door. You always want to make sure, or the one down the street that you lived on the way in. You want to make sure you explain to them what's going on. And sometimes I'll just joke around with them, with the neighbors, and I'll be like, listen, I'm going to go ahead and go in there. If I don't come out in 10 minutes, can you call somebody for me?
Yeah.
They'll keep an eye on things for me too. And then let me just make sure this crazy girl makes it out of this property, everything's okay, because she's all out here by herself going in these houses. So they'll keep an eye out for you. Funny story, I had a friend of mine that I asked to go look at some properties for me that were on his side of town because I didn't have time to go. And he was he would do the procedures that I told him, talk with the neighbors before you go in. So a couple months later, he was showing his son, a family member of his, how to look at properties. He just didn't feel like going over and talking to the neighbors. So they just kind of went over the fence and went over to the property. Came out. OPD, Orlando Police, was lined up down the block, like 3 SWAT squad cars, and they had the dog. And he had to slowly reach into his pocket to get his ID and his business card and explain, what he was doing and what was going on, because the cops were staggered down the street. They had their guns drawn and everything. And he explained to them that the property's coming up in the auction. He said, real estate investors is what he does. And so the sergeant was there, and the sergeant was like, oh, okay. Well, next time before you go, so the neighbors don't call us and get panicked, call us and let us know what you're doing before you go out there. So that way, if we get calls, we'll know what's going on, which is the first time ever we've heard cops say that in the first place.
They expect it, yeah. Another thing that the newbie investors need to be very careful of, if these properties have been vacant, which a lot of them have been for over a year or two, at least in Polk County, they need to make sure that they call if the utilities have been off, because that's a code enforcement inspection. That's a whole other thing. Chris Hedges just recently had someone present him one. They had rehabbed the whole thing, and then they couldn't get excuse me, the utilities on because they had to have code enforcement inspected, and they had done all that rehab and they couldn't pass code enforcement. So they had spent a whole bunch of money for nothing, and that had nothing to do with tax deed, but that's just word to the wise to all of those, that they need to make sure what they're dealing with, how long the utilities have been off, what they're going to have to do for rehab and everything.
Yeah, and sometimes with the utilities, if you're, let's say you're wholesaling a property or you're flipping it, you want to make sure you have the utility company, and Frank could attest to that, is that they do a municipal lien search to make sure that there aren't any liens on there for the utilities. That means the previous home owner or renter did not skip out and not pay the water bill, because although the water bill may have been under the tenant's name, the county is going to put it as a lien against the property if they do not get their money.
Actually, Mulberry has a $5,000 one, even though they didn't skip out. I think if it's been off, at least at one point they did, if it's been off for more than 2 years, Greg, somebody chime in here. I think if they haven't had utilities for over 2 years or 3 years, they charge them a $5,000 impact fee. Yeah, on their utilities in Mulberry.
So you got to factor that all into your rehab costs.
Yep.
As far as when you run your numbers. So it's things that you need to be aware of. What I like to encourage people to do is get to know your code enforcement office.
Wait, can you say that one more time? What you said about Mulberry?
Susan,
oh yeah, Mulberry. Years ago they had a $5,000 impact fee for the utilities if a property had sat vacant for over I forget, it was either a 2 year or 3 year period of time without utilities. When you got the utilities turned on, they had a huge impact fee they charged you. Yeah.
Up in Fanning Springs, my sister had the utilities turned on or off, and for a year because of COVID, and they charged her $1,500 impact fee to turn them back on. Well, after 6 months, if you don't turn them on, it was a $1,500 reconnection impact fee.
Okay, so you guys don't get frightened, and don't let this scare you away from either buying properties or even investing. You just need to be aware of these situations. Hire a title company if you're going to sell it. But obviously, when we're buying at a tax deed sale, we're not going to have a title company involved. So you want to make sure you understand with your municipality, talk with your code enforcement, talk with the city, talk with the county, and find out what are the parameters for these.
Is that even legal to charge that amount?
Let's move on to another topic, because I'm going to be running out of time if we go down these little roads here.
We'll talk about that after the meeting.
Let's discuss that.
Fair enough.
In the meeting, after the meeting, you guys can go over it, whether it's legal or not. But hey, if the county is doing it, you go ahead and get an attorney and try to fight them. So here's one here in Lakeland. Its opening bid is $10,000, worth about $105,000, 1,100 square feet, 2-bedroom, 1 bath. It's a wood frame house, two stories. Look like there's another property right behind there too. I wonder if it's on the same property. I doubt it. It's probably a separate lot. But don't get fooled by what you see on the outside. It could be a whole hot mess on the inside.
Yep.
And these comps here about 200,000. So let's go ahead and go through real quick the top 3 mistakes. Then we're going to wrap things up here because we are running out of time. So here are some 3 mistakes that tax deed and lien investors make. One is they give up too quickly. Okay, you give up too quickly. So there are techniques to bidding at the auction. First of all, at first, you might get nervous about hitting that bid button, or if it's an in-person auction, because they're still doing in-person auctions. Even through the pandemic, there's still some counties that are doing in-person auctions. So don't give up too quickly once you start doing your research and looking up properties and thinking, oh, I can't find anything. You got to be consistent. There was one auction, every auction I would attend and see if there's anything going on. And one year I bought a house for, guess how much? $3,000.
Wow.
Yes, 3,000. I bought them for even less. We're going to go through that too. Number two is they don't do their homework. You can't just jump in there and not be aware of what's on title on the property, what the condition of the properties may be, or what's going on in that particular property. And number three is they just don't know how to bid. There are ways that you can put your bid in. There are bid strategies that you can use so that you end up being the one that ends up with the property. So one of those strategies, and some people may not realize it, is that especially when they have a live auction, some people will come to the auction and you'll see them in the parking lot in the hallway together. And once they step through the doorway, they split. They go in different directions and they sit in different areas, because sometimes people will bid against each other, people they came with, as a strategy to make you feel as though there's a lot of attention on that property. So therefore, you don't bid on that property. Yes, there are sometimes really aggressive bidders who will look you in the eye. You want to try not to have eye contact with any of the bidders that you're bidding against, because it only antagonizes them and makes them want to bid higher, especially men, you know, men, that machismo and stuff, you know, man looking at another man is just going to make that other guy just bid even more, whether they have the money or not. So just stay focused, pay attention to be a bidder. And I like to do $100 increments, although it might make the auction last longer. There's no point in me paying any more than I need to. So if the opening bid is $5,000 and they're now at $8,000, my next bid, if I'm bidding, is $8,100. Somebody else puts in a bid, I go $100 over their bid, always $100 over their bid. That way I pay the least amount of money. Let's see what else here. All right, so this is what we've covered so far: the tax deed process, the 7 ways to make money. Some of the properties coming up on the Polk tax deed sale. If we had more time, I was going to go directly onto the Polk County auctions website too, and mistakes that investors make. So this is real important, as important as what I just shared with you tonight, is that these are 2 really good books that I recommend for real estate investors. If you're new, if you're new, I'm trying to move the little bar away from here. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but the Zoom bar was in front of there. If you're new, then you may not know about this book. Those of us that have been in real estate so far, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is a popular book for entrepreneurs. And it has some of the best secrets in there on how to get what you want. And I'm going to show you in a couple of slides how I implemented that book and was very successful in getting things that I wanted. Another really good book, I read this as an investor. I was not a real estate agent when I read it. It's called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller. Gary Keller is the guy that started Keller Williams. So as an investor, what you want to do is substitute the word listings. Anytime they mention listings in the book, because it's written for real estate agents, you want to put in the word offers. It's the same thing for investors, but it deals with offers. It is a great book. It shows you how to set up your business, how to run your business, how to be accountable. It is an amazing book. Millionaire Real Estate Agent. So Gary Keller has another book as well called Millionaire Real Estate Investor. So my friend that recommended this to me years ago, Marty Orfici, he's the one that told me to substitute offers for listings. Anytime in the book it said listings, substitute offers. And he told me that there was also Millionaire Real Estate Investor, but don't read investor first, read agent. So I was like, why would I read agent first? I'm not even an agent. So I read agent first, and agent was outstanding. So next I was going to read the Millionaire Real Estate Investor. But they put all the good stuff in Millionaire Real Estate Agent. That's the best book that he has. He also has another book called The One Thing as well. But that is a great book, a real estate agent. I didn't think Investor had that much stuff in there, but I really loved Millionaire Real Estate Agent. So I highly recommend it. So what about Think and Grow Rich? So on the wall in my office, I've got that quote that I shared with you in the beginning. Progress always involves risk. You can't steal second base, and keep your foot on first. Then on the other side, I've got another one that says, it's by, if you don't conquer self, you'll be defeated by self, something like that. So those two quotes there mean a lot. And I wanted to always be reminding myself of those. So I had them blown up into a poster, and I framed them and put them on my wall. And on a particular year, this was back in 2014, I believe it was, I wanted to go to Paris, France, and I wanted to take my parents with me, but I had no Paris money to take them and myself and pay for us to be there for 2 weeks, pay their flights, the excursions, the food, everything. So what I started doing was implementing what Napoleon Hill said in his book. And I started talking to everybody about the trip that I was going to take. Not what I wish I was going to take, the trip that I was going to take, and I was going to take my parents with me, both of them. I told my parents I was going to take them. Meanwhile, I ain't got no Paris money at the time, okay? So later on in that year, unbudgeted money that I had not even expected just started coming in. These were overage deals that I was doing that I did not plan on doing, but I was just started getting these overage opportunities. So I started doing these overage deals, and there it was. There was the money for my mom's plane ticket, my dad's plane ticket, the Airbnb in Paris for a week, the Airbnb in south of France for a week. So all the money started coming in that I needed to make that goal a reality. And that was because I set my sight on it. I was determined. I believed it was going to happen. I told others about it. I spoke about it. And like about a month before we were supposed to leave, I hadn't bought my dad's ticket yet, but he had told me he wasn't interested in going. So we ended up having even more money. So it was just me and my mom. And so this was our pictures from our very first trip to France. And this is our first night in Paris, right there at the Eiffel Tower. We took a quick nap when we arrived, and then we went over to the park to see the lovely Eiffel Tower and its sparkling gaze. We also went to different museums. We saw Mona Lisa. We saw the Thinking Man. That's my mom doing the Thinking Man pose. And on the right, that's me over in Nice at Monte Carlo, the casino. And they had nice cars. That's all you see. Most exotic, nicest, expensive cars parked out front of there. And then that's us in Nice, and in south of France, then back in Paris, right outside the Louvre there on the right there. So we enjoyed ourselves and had a really, really good time going on our excursion. That all came from just the power of belief. And that kind of like blew my mind away, that here it was, I can envision something that I thought was so far out, to take my parents and pay for them to go to Paris with me, and that it actually happened. So what did I do next, you guys? I envisioned more things. So one of the other things I wanted to buy was this SUV, a Porsche Cayenne. And this was a car that I was like, this is gorgeous. I would have never thought I'd be able to have a beautiful car like that. So what I started doing was I went and got pictures of the car, the inside, the steering wheel. I would imagine what it felt like to sit in there. I did a test drive in the vehicle, and I took a picture of the steering wheel and put it as my screen lock on my phone. So I looked at it all the time, would always be reminded of it, and that I can claim it and know what the actual everything, the curvature of the wheel, everything that's on that steering wheel and on the inside. I even imagined what song I would be listening to when I was in the car. So when I went for my test drive, do you know what song played when I turned the ignition?
Oh boy, really?
Yes.
Goosebumps. Wow.
Yes. The car the song that I had envisioned played in there when I turned the ignition. That's what came on the radio. And I was like, oh, I get it, God. I get it. I need to envision a little bit more clear, not on the test drive. So then I started envisioning the car sitting in my driveway, me going in and out, going to work, going places. My stuff was in the car. It's my car, not at the dealership doing this test drive. Is the car going to be in my life? It's going to be in my life, like in my driveway. And sure enough, money came through on deals, I was able to put a huge lump sum down because I didn't want to have a large car payment. And those cars are expensive. I wanted to have a low car payment because those of you who probably have lived through the bad market are going to understand this, is that I want to have a lot of cash liquid in case the market tanks. Because I know what it was like in 2008 and 2009 when the market went crazy. So I didn't want to be caught in a position where if my income were to go down, I would not be able to afford things. So I wanted to make sure I put a huge amount down. So in 2017, I got to sit behind that car and drive it into my driveway, and it was mine. Now, of course, I buy used because when you buy stuff brand new, the money just flies out that sunroof when you drive off the dealership's lot. So I bought it used so that I would lock in some of that money. But that was like one of the most amazing, fun things in my life, was to get that car too. So here's one of my students that actually I wanted to tell you about. This is a testimony. This is something I grabbed right off of Instagram. This is Adrian. And actually, oh, wait a minute. Is that his name? Yeah, Adrian. He actually did my 2-day field trip, and he bought a vacant lot directly across the street from the Citrus Bowl in Orlando. It's now called Camping World, those of you who are familiar with it. It's a huge venue where they hold events, soccer, and things like that. He bought that lot for $45,600 and listed it for sale for $120,000. He got multiple offers on it. I believe he ended up selling it for around that price, or about $100,000. So that vacant lot had nothing on it. And he actually had a company that does parking lot things, rented the property from him first. So they leased it from him so that they can park cars. And during the Florida Classic, that company made a ton of money parking cars. So they paid him a lot of money. And then 2 months after that, they ended up purchasing it from him because it was going to be a great deal for them. Because they make a ton of money off of that. So here's another student here that bought a piece of property off of a credit card. So this one I wanted to bring up here because how many people can imagine you can buy a piece of property off of her credit card? So her goal was to try, she got a credit card that was like after 30 days, you'd end up having to pay something. So her goal was to try to flip it before the credit card payment came due, but she ended up flipping it on the 45th day. So Jackie here bought this property at the Brevard County tax deed sale after taking my field trip for $23,400. Turned around and sold it for $35,000. Didn't do any work except for maybe a little cleanup, and then also had to negotiate the code enforcement liens, which I helped her to, to formulate how to do that with Brevard County. So in 7 days, she was able to sell it for $11,385. So what in profit. So what did take the delay on that was not in selling it, but first she had to get code enforcement to reduce the lien. So you have to wait until their next meeting. And first you got to correspond with them back and forth in email, and then get on the meeting agenda so that they can reduce that. Here's the property now I wanted to tell you guys about that we purchased this one for $500. We did not buy this at the tax deed sale. I sent a letter to the homeowner. She called me on a Friday, the homeowner. On Saturday, she let me see the property. I made her an offer. She had tenants living in the property. She had inherited the property from her mother or her grandmother. And so she was looking to sell it. And I told her, listen, the sale is coming up on Thursday. So we're like less than a week away from the sale. I can get you money, but it's not going to be from me. I'm going to show you a technique where you can take a loss on your property. So as long as you can sell it to me for a small amount, the rest of it is a loss. You can talk to your CPA. Same disclaimer that I gave her. I'm not a tax professional, but talk to your CPA. It has to do with your own personal circumstance. So she was like, well, my husband works for a CPA. I'll have him ask his boss. So on Sunday, she got back to me. CPA said, yes, that's absolutely true. She's going to make a lot of money on her loss. That's going to offset what she may owe in her taxes. So she signed all the paperwork, sent it to us. You need a title company that will close fast. That's why it's good to know title companies like Frank's here. And then you talk to them and they'll be able to close a deal for you pretty fast. And they'll let you know what the time limit that they need. So the title company that we use was able to do the closing on a Wednesday. And it was a mobile closing because the seller went on vacation in Flagler County on the beach. So this property is in Orange County. So they had to send a mobile notary out to Flagler. And on Wednesday afternoon, the title company paid the taxes to stop the auction. So the property was delinquent in taxes. That's why it was going up in the tax deed sale. So we purchased it first and then paid the taxes. So we still had to pay the taxes on that, which was about, I think it was like $2,800 or something like that. So on this particular deal, remember what I said, give up too soon? This investor that did the joint venture with me was one of my past students, and she wanted a deal so badly that she and her kids went on vacation without her husband because she didn't want to dip into the principal she was going to be using to do her real estate investments. And if she had paid for her husband's ticket, they would have dipped into the principal. So her husband stayed behind and worked, and they went down to like South America on vacation. So this deal came through while she was on vacation. Luckily, her husband was nearby to get, sign the paperwork and do the things that were necessary for us to go ahead and purchase this property from the owner. $500 plus the back taxes. That's pretty good. And when the tenants moved out of there, they left it in broom swept condition. They cleaned it, they vacuumed, they even cleaned the refrigerator. Awesome deal. So another advanced strategy that you should never do on your own unless you're working with an attorney to do this, it's called adverse possession. And I've done this deal before with an investor. So I found a deal that the homeowner was deceased and there was nobody there taking care of the property. And then I wholesaled it to another investor. So this was the investor's testimonial here. She said she didn't know anything about the tax deeds or even adverse possession until Sandra called me and she told me about this deal. Sandra helped me get the building that was worth $150,000 for only $5,600. This was a house. That $5,600 went towards 3 years of delinquent taxes and fees. She spent $8,000 on the rehab, and she was renting the property for $800 a month when she gave me this testimonial. So 3 years after she did this deal, she actually was even. All the money she had spent, she had recouped from renting the property out. And after 7 years, she can do a quiet title, and then the judge may award her the property if she did everything correctly to do the adverse possession. Adverse possession takes a few things that you have to do. It's really hard sometimes to find an attorney that is versed in it and knows how to do it. So here she said she spent very little time on it, blah, blah, blah. All right, so then next, I won't have time to go through the rest of these here, but I've got some other testimonials on other things I've done.
All right,
with
Gloria,
other
I see
students.
you guys just finished your first 2-day field trip. So tell me a little bit about how you guys feel.
We felt good. We felt good about the class. Very informative. Sandra is very knowledgeable in the real estate area, so I liked it.
Yeah, I have to agree. A lot of the information, it's not like you get to see all those real estate gurus that never show up, but you get that one-on-one with Sandra, and she literally, gives you the information that's necessary to really get deals done. Definitely informative.
All right, that's good. And tell everyone where you guys are coming from.
Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes.
So you guys drove all the way down to Georgia just to come to a class on Florida.
That's correct.
There you go. So what's something in this class that you guys learned that you didn't think you were going to learn?
I think more or less for me about the overages. I'm not a real estate person, so per se, and I guess if you're a newbie to the business, I definitely recommend taking the course. Sorry.
Yeah, I would have to say the overages. Some of the concept I've heard before, being in real estate, but there's a lot of things that you just there's information out there. You just gotta take it. But that overages is definitely something that blew me away.
Okay. So what is one thing that you would say to someone that is actually thinking about taking the class?
Take the course. You have nothing to lose, more to gain if anything. So take the course.
Yeah, definitely take the course. Stop looking at those so-called celebrity people that claim that they've done this and get it from the person that's actually really holding your hands at the courthouse, showing you exactly what needs to be done.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. Well, hope you guys have a great day and happy investing. And we
And
hope
this couple, we just did a program with them in the courtyard of our office, because we've converted some of our field trips to private programs, and we space people out in the courtyard. So if you're interested in learning more and you'd like to do our online program, here's a couple of options that you have here. We have what's called Tax Deeds at Your Fingertips in an online purchase. Program. So you learn how to purchase properties at the tax deed and lien sale, how to examine the files for upcoming auctions, hands-on shortcuts on how to do your research. We browse through the courthouse files. All this is done online. There's 6 sessions altogether. They're meant to be done like 1 week at a time, but some people can rush through them and get through them much faster. 4 are pre-recorded sessions, and 2 of them are live sessions with me over Zoom. And then once you're done with those sessions, you can come to one of our field trips as a repeat student. And repeat students get to come to the actual field trip event for only $39. So they don't have to pay the full price of a field trip to come. So once we do the recorded sessions and then the live session, we go over title searching, and then we also do an online auction together during one of the live sessions. You also get the 2 book home study course, which has over 7 hours of audio and a USB drive that has all sorts of paperwork, forms, and checklists that you'll need to do the deals that we were just talking about. So on day 1, then we also have the in-person program if you want to come. It's a 2-day field trip, and what we do is we just do all the research that you need to get you going so that you can start buying properties at the tax deed sale. I've been doing this since 2004. So I show you the tips and tricks that you need to be successful and how to avoid some of the mistakes that other people have made. So I've been your guinea pig, or other investors have been your guinea pig, that I've seen the mistakes that they've made. So I try to teach you, how to avoid those. And you also get the home study course on that. It's 2 days. And it is the most comprehensive program that gets you ready. It's built for people who are ready to start purchasing properties. On the second day, we actually go out to an actual tax deed auction. So that's what you see on the bottom right there is a picture of us at one of the pandemic tax deed sales. They have everybody spaced out and everybody's wearing masks. And right after that auction, I believe that was right after that auction, I could have been on the first day, we went out to go look at properties. And if you look at the picture, right above there, the top right there, the tree right behind us has a notice on there because that vacant lot is going up in the tax deed sale. And so that's what they do. They put the notice on a tree if there's no house at the property. So that was one of the properties we went to go look at. We put everybody on a call together. We're driving around in our cars, looking at properties in separate vehicles. So it's a nice little caravan of vehicles going through the area. So you are welcome to sign up for either one of those programs. I'm going to give Polk PCREIA a special discount. The 2-day field trip, we're doing it for $950. It's usually $1,400. And I forgot to go over the price here for tax deeds at your fingertips. It's $700, and you get access to that program online. You do it at your own pace, at your own schedule. And then when you're ready for your live sessions, you just schedule those with my assistant. So don't forget, we've got auctions throughout the state of Florida. Polk County has one coming up on May 20th. And we've also got the tax certificate sale. In our example, I believe that was Adrian who did was our sample person buying the certificates. All the counties are going to have certificates available at the end of this month, and early June, they're going to be going up for sales. There's lots of opportunities going on here. So I'll be having a field trip coming up on May 4th. Actually, no, not May 4th. I think it's like May. I'll have to look up the date. I have the exact date. For some reason right now, it slips my mind. But we have a field trip coming up right before the certificate sale. So if anybody is interested, we've got a link that you can sign up to get the Polk County REIA discount. It's buyingtaxdeeds.com. At the very bottom of the screen there, /REIA-program-discount. I sent the link over to Liz, so she'll probably be able to send that out to everyone. And that is the end. I'm sorry I did go over, but if you guys have any questions, I can answer.
No. Yeah, let's definitely open it up for question and answer. I know some folks have got to have some things they'd love to connect with you about. What have you guys got? Any questions for Sandra? regarding any of the things she's covered tonight?
I just wanted to say hi, Sandra. I'm back, guys.
You're what?
Welcome back, Rosemary. Rosemary had to leave for a while. She was making money and she just came back.
Hey, listen, I'm not going to hold that against you. Go make that money, honey.
And exactly, Sandra. I sent you a text, so we definitely need to hook up, girl.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Hey, Sandra, do we have to pre-register to attend the auctions?
Some auctions you may need to register in advance. Other auctions you can just start bidding as soon as you walk through the door. A lot of auctions are now online, so you will need to register for the online auction if it is an online auction.
On the Polk County online auctions, do you have to put money in an account to bid?
Yes, so very good question. For the Polk County online auction, Polk County uses Real Auction, Real Tax Deed to do their auctions. And they have a platform where you have to put in 5% of whatever you plan to bid the highest price at. So let's say if you plan on bidding at the most $10,000, they need to have 5% in the account in order to bid. They will not let you bid if you don't have at least 5% of whatever your high bid is going to be. And then once you win the auction, you have 24 hours to get your money in, but I do not recommend that you wait the whole 24 hours. Get your money in as soon as possible.
And the
Sandra.
computer won't allow you to bid. Once you get to your threshold of what your deposit is, the computer says, I don't think so. So it automatically stops you once you get to your threshold if you don't have enough money in your account. Yep.
I may not have heard you say, but what all is involved with funding the account? Is it, it's a very arduous, tedious process? Or is it pretty straightforward? Just any kind of like a bank account or credit card or something? Or
yeah, it's pretty straightforward. They ask you for the route, your checking number, the routing number, depending on how you're sending the funds over there. Some places will allow you to send a cashier's check over to them. And most of them you're sending the money directly to the sale. Some of them you're sending them directly to the clerk of the court that is going to be auctioning off the properties. It's pretty easy.
Good, thank you.
And remember, much of this stuff is much easier than what we kind of say in our brain. Our mind sometimes comes up with excuses as to why we don't want to do something. Maybe we'll buy something and we can't sell it, or maybe we're going to buy something and the person living in there is going to burn down the house. Maybe we'll knock on the door and they'll shoot us. You know how many people tell me that? Oh, I'm afraid to knock on the door because I'm afraid they might shoot me. Well, they're just as afraid as you are of them. Someone's knocking on your door. They don't even know them. So don't get so nervous. I like to, when I knock on the door, wait about 6 feet back. This was even before COVID. 6 feet back from the door. So that way they'll feel comfortable opening up the door.
So one thing I just want to point out again, and you mentioned it a couple of times slightly, I believe, is about going in as a JV or partner with somebody. So if you guys, find a property that you see might be real potential, you can always call folks that you meet in this meeting, like myself and others that do partner with folks to buy properties. If you take Sandra's class, one thing I was very impressed with, a couple of I think it was a few years ago when you last spoke here, Sandra, and that's when I bought your course, and that's when I, loved everything I got from you. It was really great. A couple of folks that also bought in that same time period had gone to your field class, and they were able to partner, one of them partnered up with you on something later. So I know that Sandra does that as well. She gets to meet you in her classes. She gets to know you. She's teaching you her techniques. And if you find something, then if you feel like you don't have the money for it, then don't worry about that. Find the deal. Finding the deal is the hard part in all areas of real estate investing. So if you do, then now you know a few people that you can contact, both in our group and with Sandra, to possibly link up with and get going on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I do is I give all of my students my cell phone number. So they get my actual business cell and they can text me at any time. I prefer text. They have a question or something comes up, they text me. That's the quickest way to get a response back from me. If it's something that involves a phone call, I will do phone calls, but I try not to do that many because you can imagine with that many students that I have, that's going to take up all my time and never have a chance to do anything at all. I do offer for my students a website that I give them access to with a bunch of videos and information. Some of it on things that we may have covered on the field trip to refresh their memory and to help them in case they forget. And that covers a lot of questions that I get as well. So I try to help them out that way too. And it cuts back on the questions, you know, things that I know people are going to ask about later on.
I also noticed that on if they buy the one course and then they decide, hey, I'd like to do that field trip too, they can add on to that, can't they, later or something? Isn't there a way for them to do that?
Do the tax deeds at your fingertips. That's basically an online program. And they decide they want to come to the field trip. We're doing that during the pandemic. We are allowing them to come to one field trip for only $39. So they can do the online program and then end up coming to a live program for $39. So that program that they're going to do as a repeat student will have to be after the pandemic when I can do larger classes. Right now, we have to keep our field trips much smaller. So we're not allowing repeat students in the field trip as a repeat during the pandemic, just because the classes are just so much smaller.
Okay, because that was one private message I had was if they'd already done one, can they still do a repeat like they used to? So they can, yes, but they just have to wait till after the pandemic.
After the pandemic, but for the 2-day field trip, let's say they decide they want to come in person and do the 2-day program and go to the auction with me. We schedule them and we have them come. But if they want to repeat again, it's going to have to be after this whole pandemic stuff is over with, because right now we've been doing our classes, our field trips, private events in the courtyard at my office right outside for only 4 or 5 people. And these are classes that used to have 15 people where I do them. So now we're down to 5 people so we can space them out in the courtyard and we have them drive and meet us at the auction. But as soon as this whole pandemic stuff's over and we can have the bigger classes, we're going to start doing back to the larger classes like we used to have. We actually have one coming up in May, and that one we're going to, for the first time, take it inside because it's now getting a little too hot for our courtyard classroom, because before the weather was beautiful, but now it's getting too hot. So we're actually going to rent a huge space where we can all be in there with our mask and socially distance and stuff like that, and have maybe about 7 people in that classroom, in that space.
Very good. And let's see, anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, you guys have any questions?
Sandra, what are your days and times for your classes? I don't know, I didn't hear you say that. Like, you know, was it whenever, I guess if it's online, you can do that whenever before the life on demand or whatever, but your field trips and your classes at, you know, certain days of the week, and, you know, is it all day long, or how's that work?
Yeah, I've got the field trip date. Let me grab my other phone. I dropped one of my phones here. Let me give you the field trip date here because I was so busy looking up the stuff in the auction that I did not even pull up the field trip dates here for you. I'll tell you in a moment. Anybody else have any other questions?
Yes, there was someone that had a question. Oh, the question was, if they, let's see, in the beginning you talked about you get immediate possession. If you win the auction, you get immediate possession. But what if there are people still living in there? You know, how hard is it to get them out? Because they were owners before, they're not just tenants or renters. Is there a difference, and how do you proceed with that?
Yeah, that can get tricky when you have somebody living in the property that does not want to leave. You're saying this is someone that does not want to leave? When you come on the field trip or do the tax deeds to your fingertips, I go into detail on how to handle it when you have people in the property that do not want to leave. And don't worry, yes, the state of Florida does allow you to get immediate possession. However, if they run into a problem, there is a specific situation, there's a specific way that you want to handle it. Let me tell you real quickly, one option here is to just evict the person on a lease. So one thing that we may do is that we may put the person on a lease if they need time to get out. And then if they do not want to get out, we evict them on the lease, no trouble, no ifs, ands, or buts. You're not going to have us in court. having arguments back and forth and running up billable hours on the attorney side. So one of the things that we do is that we put them on a short lease to get them out. But like I told you before, I have specific conversations with people before I purchase the property to find out what will be our issues if they end up not wanting to leave. There are ways to overcome any of this. Do not worry about it. You can always do cash.
Definitely.
There's just so
Yes,
much that you can do.
That's what I was going to say, because I know in some of the ones I've bought that people were still there that I had not been able to have conversation with before the auction. I won the auction. When I go there, I don't know what you do, Sandra, but I never tell anybody I bought it or I own it. I say that I work for the company that purchased it at auction, and we're so sorry this happened and blah, blah, blah. But we're here to see what we need to do next to help them move forward. And
That's
then I
precisely
open the
what I do. That's
Yeah.
precisely what I do, because I let them think that I work for the man. Listen,
Yeah.
I work for this company. This is what they do all over the state. I'm just a cog in the wheel. Don't get
Yeah.
mad at me. I'm going to try my best to try to help you. Because all the properties I buy them in a trust. So they don't know that I'm the one that bought it. They probably aren't going to believe that I'm the one that bought it. They're going to look at me and think, she can't buy any property. She doesn't have any property. They tell me,
Right.
I work for the company. Let me ask the owners. Let me ask the company. But they've got big old attorneys, in those expensive buildings, and that's what they do all the time. They know how to get people out. And usually I'm able to have no problems getting the people out too.
Yeah, I'm like you. I've offered cash, like you said, cash for keys works. It doesn't even have to be very much money. I mean, I've helped them move like not providing, but giving them enough money to rent a truck to move, all those kind of things. Yeah, very good.
I gave a guy as little as $300 one time, and I had $600 in my pocket, but I had $300 in one pocket, $300 in the other pocket. So I said, okay, well, the company is authorizing me to give you $300. I know it's not much, but you can get a U-Haul, some gas, and have some money left over.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Say no, so that's why I brought the other $300, but he didn't say no.
Yeah, very good. Jimmy Green had a question for you. He's asking, is the spouse free on the 2-day field trip, or would it be a separate ticket?
Well, here's the thing. The spouse is going to take a seat and they're going to ask questions. And I've done the spouse free before. And in my experience, the spouse usually, in the example I did with the spouse for free, the spouse asked more questions than even the person they came with. So the spouse, we have to charge for the spouse. If you have a spouse and it's a genuine spouse and you guys swap spit and live together in a household, your ID to prove that, we will only charge you $500 for the spouse, okay? And I have the date for the field trip. The date for the field trip is a Wednesday and Thursday. So the sale is going to be on a Thursday. So we're going to go to an auction on Thursday. It's on May 19th and May 20th. May 19th and May 20th. It's not the Polk County sale we're going to. We're going to a sale in the morning. The Polk County sale happens later in the day. We're going to a different sale that is actually in person. What was the next question?
What was the worst mistake you've made?
The worst mistake.
Oh, good question.
Yeah, good question. The worst mistake I made was I purchased a property. It was a mobile home on a lot, and the mobile did not come with the property. So they're actually properties out there where the mobile is not attached to the land. So you have to make sure you find out if the mobile is actually part of the real estate. So this was a really nice double wide mobile, really nice community. It was a 55 and up community. And luckily for us, nobody was coming to get the mobile. And I ended up selling it to my handyman's brother. And he was perfectly fine with going through the legalities to get the mobile and the land rejoined together. So that it did not end up being a problem. I do have another funny one here. It was actually very frightening. To me, I think it was the worst thing I did, but most people are probably going to think that's nothing. But I was going to see a property out in Pinellas County, and I went to go look at every single property. I either went inside or went up to the window. The one property I didn't go up to the window or didn't go up to it, I end up winning at the auction. All the others I went up to and I didn't go up to, I I ended up winning at the auction. This property had a huge spider's web from the tree down to the ground. And that's why I did not go inside, because I am petrified of big spiders. And there was no way I was going to go in there. So I said, I'll probably need $20,000 to work based on what I see on the outside. Boy, was I wrong. So after I won that auction, now I had to go back there. I fired myself first, then I had to rehire myself. And I went and I spoke with the neighbor, and the neighbor was like, oh, that house is awful. I can't believe anybody bought it. There is 3 holes in the roof. There's mold all throughout. It's just been raining in there for 3 years. There's rats, all sorts of critters and problems. And so he took me around to the back, and I wanted him to because I was scared of that spider. And so I gave him my phone because there was more spider webs on the back sliding glass door, because he told me how to get inside. Tell you, these neighbors know everything. And so I asked him to stick my phone in there, stick his arm in the sliding glass door so that he can get video of what it looked like inside, because I was not going to put my head through there because there was spider webs all up in there. So then I looked at the video and I was like, oh, expletives come out of my mouth. I cannot do this deal, because if it had been closer to where I lived and I can be there every day, I could do it. But this was a property that was going to involve me either paying contractors that are going to charge me a lot of money to deal with this, or I had to find some guys on the street and have beer on site every day for them and be there every day to deal with all the drama that they were going to have to get this property cleaned out. So I just decided, you know what? I'm just going to lose my $500. And at that time, a few years ago, you just had to put $500 down. You didn't have to do 20%, 5%. You can just put $500 down. Once you win the property at the auction, you pay the balance. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to lose my $500 and keep myself away from that sale for 6 months, because usually they'll ban you for a certain amount of time. And that one, they banned you for like 6 months if you don't show up and pay the amount that you won at the auction. So they never sent me a letter about it, but I just kept myself away. It's like, I don't need to be embarrassed going over there and bidding, and they tell me, you're on our list, lady. You know. So that was one of them. I mean, I got other crazy stories too, but those are the really 2 that, ended up being mistakes. But I lost money on the $500 one, but not that much. And the one with the mobile that I didn't know the mobile was not part of it. Luckily, I was able to sell it and make $7,000 within that week because I was able to sell it to somebody that was interested in taking it over just as it is anyway.
Oh my goodness. Well, it doesn't sound like you've done bad at all in this world. I'm telling you what, Sandra, this is great information. Anybody else have last call for any questions anybody has?
Has anybody gone to the tax deed sale besides Susan?
I definitely have, but there was somebody, maybe Walter Bartholomew in our group. I think he's been to your class too in the past.
Oh, yes, I remember the name Bartholomew. Yes. Hi.
Yeah.
I think Ken's probably been. Ken Meadows has probably been, or.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, probably Ken Meadows and some others.
You guys take advantage of being out in Polk County, because Polk County is good because it is so wide and there's so many rural places. It is a lot to drive, even if it only has a sale with 14 properties, because they're spaced out all over the county. So it is a deterrent for a lot of people that do not live in Polk to spend that much time of the day back and forth. So you guys know how it is. So that's one of the reasons why I love the Polk County sale, because most people do not want to do it. And I have investors that are in Polk that will help me out if I need to see something and I need help, or I just go on my own. But like the one coming up with like 165, we're just waiting for a couple days out from the auction, where I'm going to drive, my assistant's going to drive, and I have one more investor who, one of my best friends, his daughter took my class and she is learning tax deed, so I'm helping her with that. So she's also going to be driving the properties as well. So we're going to
feel free to call me.
Huh?
Feel free to call me. I live in Polk County. I live in Bartow.
Okay.
There you go.
Absolutely. So Earl, send me a text, okay? Send me your name.
Hold on.
And you have mine, Sandra.
Yes.
Who do I need to send it to?
407-279-1241.
Hold on. That's too fast. I'm kind of slow.
Okay.
407.
279-1241. Let me put that slide back up again with my info. 407-279-1241.
407-279-1241.
1249. 1249. 407-279-1249.
Oh, 1249.
Yes.
Yeah, I had to leave early. I had to go take care of some business.
Oh, my bad. Phone number 1241. Sorry, Earl, you had it right the first time. 1241. There it is up on the screen. 407-279.
You trying to trick me?
That's my Google Voice number, and it goes to my phone, and my assistant sees it as well. And if you end up signing up for the class, I'll give you my cell phone number too that you can.
And you can. Do I need to give you my number, my contact number?
No, you text. You're gonna message me, right? I'll have it.
Okay, and I work all along East Coast of Florida, from D-Land all the way to Lake Placid.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
And I have put over in the chat area the link, the special link, Sandra, that you sent me that gives us that discount for PCREIA folks. So anybody interested in her classes, that gives you more information, plus the discount already is on there for you. Anybody that's interested.
On the chat too.
Hey.
My bad.
Hey, Liz,
Yes, Wade.
just so you know, you're like at least for me, you're like twice as loud as everybody else. So
really?
Yeah, which is fantastic because we hear you I hear you like wonderfully clear, but I got to turn you down because then I got to turn it up.
I'm sorry about that.
No,
yeah, and I have no idea how to accommodate that, so I apologize. Thank you for telling me.
I just didn't know if you were,
I had no idea.
I wish
I'll try to talk
everybody
softly.
I
Okay,
had
so are there any more questions? Greg, did you have one?
Yeah, I had two questions actually. So Polk County, I saw there was just the one auction scheduled. It looks like Hillsborough County, they have like 8 different ones scheduled. Is that normal or is that something different?
Well, we have the tax lien certificate sale coming up. And so usually around the certificate sale time, a lot of the counties slow down on their auctions. How many auctions going on in May and June? And then after certificate sale, you'll see their account busy.
Okay.
So right now there's kind of slowing down the sales because the certificate sales that are going to be coming up. So they're going to be pretty busy with that.
Okay.
So this is the Polk County site right here. And you go to clerk of the court and you see they've got a link to the auctions and then a link to the actual
So Polk
about this evening.
So Polk may have them throughout more of the year. Just right now, they only have the one scheduled.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, if you look back now to April, you'll see they had at least one sale every month.
Okay.
You see in April here, they had one on the 15th. They had another sale in March. So they're averaging about one sale a month. Some places may have 2 or 3 sales. Some places may not have maybe one sale every quarter.
Okay.
Yeah, but there, to answer your question, Greg, yeah, Polk County only has one a month, the third Thursday of the month. But like to answer Hillsborough County, they might have one every day.
They have one. It looks like every Thursday from what I was looking
in
at.
the past, when things were even heavier, before COVID, you might find one every day with 10, 20, 30 properties, Hillsborough County. And some of those other heavier counties, they have like, man, because it's such a large county. When I would look at it, to do the research. I don't know about you, Sandra, but I could wear myself out. I got enough just to do Polk County. Because they only have it once a month. But yeah, I hadn't gone. Which county?
If it's a county that has a lot of auctions, it'll be like weekly. And one thing you want to be careful with is some of the tax deed auctions, they will throw the foreclosure auctions on the same calendar.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And
foreclosure.
So you want to be careful not to do with the foreclosure sale when you need to do the tax deed. Tax deeds, they usually have them once a week. If you see every day, it's the foreclosures.
Yeah, you're right. That's probably what I'm thinking about is foreclosures. Yeah, you're right. And actually, Polk County too, in the foreclosure auction, they have those kind of haphazardly daily too. The foreclosures, they're like all over the place too. Yeah, you're right. That probably is what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
And then my other question, Sandra, I don't know if this is an easy thing to just touch on and give a general overview, but you mentioned you don't get marketable title and you have to go through a process to get that ready. Like, what type of thing would be involved in that, or how long of a process is that, or does it really just depend a lot
There are
on what
like
it is?
4 general ways that you can go marketable title. So it's not very difficult at all. At most, it's going to take you 3 months. The easiest way that I show people, it only takes you maybe 45 to 60 days. And in that time, you're usually cleaning up the property, you're marketing it, you're trying to find somebody to buy it. But it doesn't take that much time. It's not anything that's going to throw you off schedule. One thing that I've done in the past as well, if I want to sell it real quickly and I don't want to wait to get the marketable title, I will make the buyer fully aware and have them sign a disclosure knowing that I have not done anything to clear up the title. And I'll actually give them half of what it's going to cost for them to get marketable title, just so I can sell it to them before any of that is done. So I've done that plenty of times with vacant lots when I sell them on eBay or sell them to people that are planning to hold the property for a while and they're not that anxious to get marketable title anyway. Because one of the things you can do is hold the property for 4 years. After 4 years, most title companies will give you title insurance on a tax deed without you having to do anything on it. So that's one alternative if you just plan on just holding on to the property and renting it out, not doing anything. But if you do plan on selling it, then you're going to need to get marketable title on it. Then you can go down 2 different legal routes that you can go to get the marketable title. And we go through all of that on the Tax Deeds to Your Fingertips or the 2-day field trip as well, what those are, how to do them, what the company is that you can use to get the marketable title really fast.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Okay.
What you
So
consider
if,
your best deal? An overage, a tax
Best
sale?
deal?
What?
One of my best deals was the one that I did with one of my friends that I showed you that we made $44,000 on, and we didn't even have to buy the property. We ended up wholesaling that one, and it was coming up. It was delinquent in taxes. That was the one with the drama with the. There was a whole bunch of drama on that one. There was title issues, and I called Frank too. Remember, Frank? I called you, and I was like, "What do you do if you can't find the number on a mobile home?" That was this property. It was drama. And Frank was really good at giving me some really good information and resources, because even our title company was stumped on it. Let's see. I bought a property. Actually, there was 1 years ago that we did. It's not mine. I partnered with somebody and they ended up getting the deal. We didn't know that there was a house on the property. I assumed the property appraiser said there was a house, but I didn't believe it because it was too cheap. We bought it off Lands Available, and sure enough, not only was there a house, there was a tenant in place, and the tenant was still making payments to the owner who had lost the property for not paying taxes. So the property had gone through the tax deed sale, nobody bid on it, and so it sat on Lands Available, and the tenant was still making payments to the previous owner, who it was kind of like in limbo at that point. And so we notified the tenant that we bought it off Lands Available, so they stopped making payments to their landlord. So that landlord was getting like 3 years worth of rent payments they should not even have been getting. So that was a really good one. The $3,000 house, I mean, that's awesome. How many times can you buy a house for $3,000 at a tax deed sale?
exactly.
So, that was really good. I've had people just give me their property and I pay them maybe, oh, there was a really good one, but I'll tell you guys when we're not recording in the meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, good. Oh, that's a juicy one. Now we got to hear that one. So speaking of that, what was the other thing we were going to talk about after the meeting, Sandra? You said you would talk.
Way to make money on delinquent.
Okay. All right. So that'll be good. So listen, I know that I told you all at the beginning of this meeting you would not regret being here this evening. And I know that's a fact because Sandra, you gave us some wonderful information tonight. Even for those of us who've done it a few times, there were some tidbits in there that you've said that we've learned from. So that is, when you can cover beginners and experienced folks, man, that's a successful evening as far as I'm concerned. And you did it. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here with us tonight.
Thank you. I didn't want to bore anybody, so I'm glad it worked out.
I'm sorry, say that again. It cut out a little bit, Sandra.
I said I didn't want to bore anybody, so I'm glad it worked out well. I didn't want to bore
Yes.
anybody, so I'm glad it was not boring in any way. I tried to.
Oh,
No.
Hey,
We only
Susan,
had
now
a few. Oh, Jimmy had one last question, which was, what are the days for the field trip? He wants to get on that field trip,
Yes.
and I know why.
19th and 20th, May 19th and 20th is the two-day field trip. On the second day, we actually go to an actual auction. Actually, there's 2 sales on that day. We've got the Polk County sale, and then there's one that we're doing in person.
Very good. So listen, I just want to wrap this up and end it so we can start our meeting after the meeting. And just to remind you for,
let's do a group shot.
Yeah.
You guys want to do a group picture?
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're going to take a screenshot so I can post it, okay? So
okay, real good.
First. Ready? Oh, look at we see Liz and her binoculars here.
I know. At least I don't have my bullhorns on now. Come on. Hey, there's Jim. There's the green.
Okay, so everybody got their cameras open. That once it open, I'm about ready to take the picture again. Ready? 3, 2. All right. Let me take the second screen. Oh, I see somebody driving too. Let me get the second screen of you guys. Ready? 3, 2. All right. Okay.
Awesome. And listen, Sandra, this was just so awesome. Everybody, please give her a round of virtual applause for sharing with us tonight and giving us some great information. And listen, now, if you're a member, don't sign off just yet, because here's how it works. I have to actually end this meeting completely, 100%, and then I have to restart the other meeting. So I'll end it. You all are gone. You'll go to your email. You'll see a link there. And Sandra, I sent you one too. So you'll see a link there. You click on that, and that'll bring you to the after the meeting. And what I want to say to everybody before we end it is, in the true spirit of PCREIA's motto of investors helping investors, please seek out others to support, like Sandra did tonight with us. Make a difference in someone's life. Thank you so much for letting us into your home tonight. Be safe and God bless. We're here for you, and we'll see you at the next gathering. So virtual applause again for everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm going to end it out now. For all you members, please go and find your link, and I'll see you in a couple of minutes. Yay, Sandra Edmond.
Great job.